20 to take care of some biz. I forgot. I was already in Thanksgiving vacation mode, and
Yeah. Well, I was Skraby got in there like at the beginning of the month, so he was on vacation.
so
welcome to it.
Tony.
I
I was on my way when I got a text from Skraby, and here's the thing: I have been late enough, or been under the microscope from Skraby's ire at times. So I read text very different with Skraby because I can almost feel the energy coming through. And so I knew he was upset with me. I apologized. He played it off when I got here. He put a smile on his face, but I know when I sent the text saying, "Oh my gosh, totally forgot."
You remember how he reacted when you beat him in the Fantabulous Game Show a couple of weeks ago?
Come on, Chris.
It was very similar. He threw
Chris
stuff against the wall, fired his headphones down.
I will say this. When I need to send text messages, or I don't need to, but when I do send those text messages, I always follow it up with, how can he not remember this? But he remembers Hungary.
Well, I say that to say I apologize for the wait. As for the people of San Diego, your wait has come to an end. The Padres today named their manager. Mike Shildt gets the job. He gets a 2-year deal in the process. And Skraby, after a long, long wait, your deadline can finally go to bed.
Yes, it can.
Are you still upset that they made you wait 8 extra days?
No, again, I
deadline?
told you the deadline changed once Peter Seidler passed away.
And then it changed to the end of the month, and then you're like, if it gets into December, I'm losing it.
I will say the Padres have a very strange timing for these things. I did not expect this today.
It's always when you least expect it, right?
I told you yesterday it was going to be today.
You did.
I absolutely told you yesterday that all the reports said it was going to be before Thanksgiving, and I said it'll probably be tomorrow, and you blew me off. Like you normally do.
No, I think I said it was I wanted the news to happen at like 1:40, and it kind of did. So
it happened before our show rather than after our show. So for that, we can thank Eric Grupner and AJ Preller. Mike Shildt, I think's the guy. I think
so
he was
too.
the guy the whole time. I'm not gonna start making plans for a parade. I did that last offseason and it didn't work out too well. So I'm just going to be happy with the selection. I think that the Padres really had Mike Shildt in mind the entire time. I mean, obviously you've got to interview other candidates, but just looking at the comparison between Mike Shildt and Ryan Flaherty, I mean, the experience, the success that he had in St. Louis, that's got to carry something. And I don't think it's anything against Ryan Flaherty, but I just think Mike Shildt was a more solid candidate. Benji Gill entered the picture. Phil Nevin entered the picture. And who knows who else entered the picture? We may never know who else entered the picture, but maybe the biggest surprise isn't that they announced it. The biggest surprise is that AJ Preller went with somebody we kind of expected.
Yeah, I think in a couple of different things. You walk away feeling like this was a full process, despite the pressures to get it done early, right?
Yeah.
To get it done quickly after Bob Melvin's exit. And so we know of at least 3 people that were interviewed for the job. We actually know at least 4 people who were interviewed for the job. And I feel pretty comfortable saying I'm sure there was a few mysteries that we don't know about. But nonetheless, they did their due diligence. And they had these 2 candidates, the ones you speak of, Ryan Flaherty and Mike Shildt, in-house. So they knew them more intimately than anybody, right? And so at the end of the day, I agree. I think Mike Shildt is the guy. I think he was the guy from the beginning. And now, it's time to get to work as he fills out the rest of his staff, I assume. We know Matt Williams is gone. Ryan Christensen is gone. And so Ruben Niebla is back. I assume Ryan Flaherty will also be back.
I can't imagine that Mike Shildt took this job and agreed to this job without also agreeing that Ruben Niebla will be his pitching coach.
Well, that was done before he even
So I don't think he had much choice there.
Right.
So, yeah, Ruben is going to be there. There's a whole bunch of other names floating around. I heard Adrian Gonzalez mentioned. That would be kind of a nice nice touch. But yeah, let's give him a little time to, settle into the new job. And, Mike Shildt, just a little background for those of you who are wondering, he's 55 years old. He is a one-time manager of the year, as opposed to Bob Melvin, who had won that award 3 times. But Mike Shildt was the manager of the year in 2019. He's got a tremendous record in regular season, 91-71. Then he went 30-28 in the shortened season. That was the one that ended with a playoff loss here to the Padres. And then his last let go after going 90-72, Tony. And if I recall, he lost that 1-game playoff to the Dodgers that year on a walk-off home run by Chris Taylor, right, in the bottom of the 9th inning. That was a nip-and-tuck game all the way. But, I think Mike Shildt is a really good manager, and, he's going to have plenty to work with. My favorite Mike Shildt thing is just, I don't know him. I haven't met him. I haven't shaken hands with him. You know him. But I do know this story, and I shared it once a while ago, but I want to share it again because I think it really gives us a good feel and a peek into what kind of guy Mike Shildt is. My buddy Josh ran into Mike Shildt at a Padre event.
I remember this story.
Right at a couple of years ago. And he had no idea who he was. And my friend Josh goes, "Oh, so what do you do with the organization?" I thought he was in marketing, or figured he was a promotions guy or a sales guy. And Mike Shildt goes, "Oh, I'm on the baseball side of things." And he goes, "Well, what do you do?" And Mike Shildt didn't want to really.
He just kept pressing, and Mike
didn't
give
him too much. And Mike said, "Well, I work, kind of around the organization and on the baseball side." And Josh said, "Well, where are you from?" And he goes, "Well, I was with the Cardinals before I came here." And my friend Josh goes, "Oh, what'd you do with the Cardinals?" And he goes, "Well, I was manager." And
casually,
and my friend Josh goes, "Oh, what, for like rookie league ball or
man? Your
A?
friend needs to take a hint."
Well, he didn't know. He didn't know who he was. And Mike Shildt wasn't going to tell him that he was Mike Shildt. And finally, Mike said, "No, with the Cardinals." And that's when it dawned on my friend Josh. "Oh my God, you're Mike Shildt.
Yeah.
You're the manager of the Cardinals. You're that. Oh, wow. Welcome to San Diego, blah, blah, blah." But I just think that gives you a great peek into what Mike Shildt is all about. He's very unassuming guy. He'll blend right in with the crowd. And I like guys that don't seem like they're full of themselves, Tony. And I think that's kind of what that story tells me.
I think a few things. One of the managers he mentored is the manager with the Cardinals that took over for him after
Marmol.
Marmol, right? And Mike was let go under some, I don't know, I would say some kind of suspicious circumstances. It sounds like
that's what I would say if you won 90 games.
Won 90 games, got to a playoffs. There was some, I think there were some things that he would have liked to seen done differently that didn't go that way. They felt differently. They went in a different direction. But I watched Marmol come out of the dugout last year when they came to town and make a beeline for Mike Shildt. And, just having some time to sit and chat with him, I think he's the perfect guy for the situation. In a lot of ways, he's laid back in the same way I think Bo Mel was, but I think there's a certain assertiveness that he has that's a little bit different than Bo Mel. And so I think he's a perfect man for the job. I really do. I hope this really works out for him and the Pods.
Just watching him when he managed the Cardinals, he seemed like he was very calm, a very good calming influence. I didn't see him get too riled up, although I'm sure a few umpires would probably disagree with that. But he seems to keep his cool, and he seemed incredibly well prepared. I don't ever recall a Cardinal team not looking like they weren't ready to play, and being able to handle a bullpen and being able to handle a bench and get everybody in the game. I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
And, I was a big fan when they brought him on as an advisor, and I'm a big fan of this selection by AJ Preller. And, I'll stick with that. Now, if we get into June and the Padres are scuffling along, I'm not going to say, well, Mike Shildt was the wrong choice. I'm not going to go back on what I'm saying. I think he's going to do a solid job. He should have, plenty to work with. And now it's up to AJ Preller to get back to work and piece together a pitching staff for him. And, give him a bench that he can use. I think that's where Baumel was left wanting last year with all of the amazing top end talent that the Padres had. They just did not have anything underneath that. So hopefully, put together a roster that allows Mike Shildt to use a bunch of guys. And, I think I'm happy with this. I can't imagine too many people are unhappy with it. It seems like a good, solid choice.
Yeah,
So
I 100% agree. Let's hear from Mike Shildt. He obviously had his presser today at Petco Park. Yeah, I actually just saw him on TV not too many seconds ago on the MLB Network. But he says, for one, he's excited to partner with AJ Preller.
I am really excited to partner with AJ Preller. I've appreciated and respected the work that's been done in this organization for years and the ability to accrue talent and the way things have operated. And then when I've gotten over here, I've enjoyed the opportunity to get to know him. And I look forward to partnering with him and working side by side to develop that world championship that we all seek. There's a lot of people I'd like to thank, people that have been supporting me the last several years. I'm really grateful for a second act. Not everybody gets it. You take it for granted. There's only 30 of these jobs, and I can promise you I won't take this one for granted. And I'm excited about our team. I'm sure we'll get into some questions about what that looks like, but I love our group. It's a fantastic group of young men with clear talent. And ultimately what we're here to do is win. And we're going to do it together as an organization, from the front office to the ownership to the clubhouse, through our player development department that's really making strides in developing the next championship quality players. So I'm excited.
Here's one thing that I think is important to highlight. He mentions he's excited to partner with AJ, and I think what's different about this situation versus Baumel, this isn't a new situation for Mike. Mike's been in an organization for 2 years. He's worked very closely with the staff that's
should
been
know what
here
he's getting into,
and the front office that's been here.
Right.
And so he already knows, the style in which he's going to be under or partnered with, I would say. And I think that's a different thing than any manager walking in having never worked with somebody before, and the results that could bring. I think Mike Shildt is going into this with his eyes wide open because he's been in the organization. He knows the inner works of the organization better than anybody that was going to come here aside from Ryan Flaherty.
So you don't think that when the phone rings in his hotel room at 2:30 in the morning and it's AJ Preller on the other side, he'll be surprised?
He'll have no surprise. He's already experienced the 2 a.m., 3 a.m.
He's probably
phone
already
call.
gotten a few of those
more
phone
than
calls.
enough.
Yeah.
More than enough, because one of the things he was doing, aside from occasionally helping out at the big league level, was he was working with the minor league guys, the prospects, the guys that they deem have a high ceiling, right? So when you're dealing in that realm, you're getting those late night or early morning calls.
Yeah,
as you
that's
like to
right.
say. So he's already prepared for that. He was also asked about his thoughts on the 2023 team last year.
Well, I mean, we learned from what happened in the past, but I think it's better to learn from it and then move on. We'll have already had some dialogue. I was there. Don't want to live too much about it. Clearly we just came up short. And I know this group, and talking to some of the guys already, I know there was some clear disappointment in the clubhouse at the end of the season that I'm sure will resonate with the group moving forward. Ultimately it's going to be about playing winning baseball. And I alluded to it, it's 4 components to me. There's a lot of things that fall into these components, but it starts with us being together. And I don't want to misrepresent this group wasn't together last year. That wouldn't be accurate. Just making sure we continue to develop a team and a one mentality of singular purpose to win baseball games. And then we're going to play the game fundamentally sound. We're going to play the game right. We're going to throw strikes. We're going to catch the baseball. We're going to be really efficient with our offense. We're going to run the bases well. We're going to be a very detailed, buttoned-up club. And we're also going to have a lot of fun. We're going to enjoy it. We've got a fun group, with the guys with a lot of talent. So, I love it when Toddy does his moonwalk back to first base, and I love Manny Machado's $1 million smile, and I love Joe Musgrove's passion for the city and his competition. And I can go on. And Son Kim flying around the field, playing the game the right way with a lot of heart and desire and talent. So, we're going to get it. We're going to have a good time with it. We're going to play with some swagger, but we're also going to play with some substance as well.
Yeah, you can already hear the things that, if you listen closely, the things that he is locking in on. I mean, he named pretty much all the fundamental things that you need to have a good team, right? He talked about
if they do all of that stuff, they're going to have a good team.
Catching it,
right?
Throwing it. What was he didn't specifically say anything about offense. He said the offense, I can't remember what the exact word
execute on
the
offense,
execution,
run the bases well.
That's not slug, that's not OPS. That's just playing the game, right?
Yeah.
And so these next couple questions I haven't heard it yet. We'll get to them on the other side, but the questions seem to be referencing Cardinal Way. And so I'm interested in hearing that. We got more on Mike Shildt and his hiring as we get going. Full 4 hours. AJ Cassaville will join us in this 2:00 hour. We'll get back to some fun with some Chris's Fantabulous Game Show in the 3:00 hour. Hopefully no books will be harmed in the process of playing. But yeah, this should be.
Know.
We've taped up the windows here in the studio.
You never know.
Aztecs have begun their search for a football coach. We'll get into that as well. But should be a fun show. Sit back, relax. More Gwynn and Chris on the way.
It's always baseball season on
we'll hear more from new Padres manager Mike Shildt as we go along here on the program. Chris Ello, Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Skraby, together in our Odyssey Palace studios here. Want to remind you, stay tuned, listen, and maybe your name will be called at 5 o'clock later today. It's our biggest fan contest. You'll have a chance to win a night in the Odyssey Suite with your friends, family, and all of us, the 97.3 The Fan hosts. The biggest fan contest is presented by the San Diego Seals. Tickets are on sale now at sealslax.com. So 5 o'clock, make sure you tuned in, especially if you've signed up for the biggest fan contest. If you haven't, go to our webpage, 97.3 The Fan SD /biggest fan. Type your name in, get signed up, and then listen throughout the day for your chance to win. I want to thank my partner, Greg Garner.
Wow, Tony just got thrown under the bus.
Yeah, I've got nothing to thank you for, Tony, but Greg Garner was my official referee partner last night, and he took care of business. We had an unruly fan.
Wow.
Yelling and screaming from the top deck at, I can say where it was. It was at La Jolla High School.
Yeah. Wow. How did I get that?
It was good. It was only the first quarter of like the game. And the guy was just like bellowing.
What was he yelling? What is he yelling?
Well, to me, on one particular play, it was, "That's a travel. I can't believe you didn't call. You got to call that."
Was this an older gentleman?
I didn't look up.
No.
I don't look up.
You don't make eye contact?
I don't. Later in the first quarter.
It's probably smart. I did.
Yeah, later in the first quarter. This is trouble. My partner, Greg Garner, did not call a travel that would have benefited this gentleman's team. And
was it a travel?
I'm sorry, he did call a travel
that went
when
against his team.
It could have been a foul.
Oh, okay.
So it was against this guy's team. Anyway, this guy proceeded to rip into a, you could hear it throughout the gym, profanity-laced tirade at my partner.
Is this guy drunk?
Greg Garner.
First quarter?
First quarter.
La Jolla High versus who?
It was actually a tournament, so
Okay,
it wasn't La Jolla High playing.
La Jolla
It was at
High.
La Jolla High. Anyway, yeah, these fans, come on, people. Control yourself. Greg Garner stopped the game, went over to the scores table, told the
we will not play.
told the head guy, this game will not continue with that gentleman in the crowd.
Yeah, that's the trump card that
nice going, Greg Garner.
Show.
Yeah. If you're gonna be unruly, we just won't play. We'll wait till you decide. So everybody will eventually look up at you like,
yeah,
come on, man, get out. So we can play.
See, if I was the referee,
never looked up at the guy, by the way. I never made eye contact. I don't know what he looked like. I don't know anything about him. I just kind of bided my time at the other end of the floor.
The embarrassment of having to come off the very top as everybody is like looking at you like, this idiot right here.
Well, yeah, everybody's already.
Well, everybody could
that.
already hear him screaming obscenities. So
if I was refereeing this game, I've done something like this before, but there's a guy yelling and I would let it go, but it would bother me so much. At some point I would just turn around and be like, "Are you done yet?" And then I would feel really terrible about myself after that.
You got to keep your cool as a referee.
No, Greg Garner is a veteran,
Shout out to Greg Garner.
and I'm giving him a pat on the back for doing this because I didn't have to do it.
You have done it.
I'd like to say, oh, absolutely, Tony, but I've taken a lot of crap from fans in the past. I told Greg after the game, I said, I'm glad you did that because I'm hoping it will give me the strength and the gumption the next time it happens to me and you're not here, that I will do that.
How was the exit for this gentleman?
I don't know. I didn't watch.
You really didn't watch like
I did
that?
not watch.
How do you not watch this?
I don't want to be. I don't want to watch him going out and have him make eye contact with me and say like, I'm going to be waiting outside for you.
Outside.
Yeah. So I didn't make any eye contact. I have no idea.
So it sounds like it went okay, though, because there was no screaming and commotion.
He wasn't there when you got done.
He wasn't there, and I'll tell you what, the game went along much smoother after that. So well done, Greg
Don't
Garner.
be unruly.
Yeah, come on, people. Go to the game, cheer for your team, have a good time.
Pretty soon, we're not going to have any referees.
We're either not going to have any referees or we're not going to have any crowds.
Yeah,
we're just going to play games like it was the COVID time. You know, I mean, you people in general, look, 99% of the fans are great. They have a great time. They cheer. They boo a call. I love that.
It only takes the 1%.
But it just takes that 1% that wrecks it for everybody. So anyway, I told Greg I would give him a shout out today because I really appreciated what he did. All right. We have AJ Cassavell coming up from MLB.com. And I just saw AJ on the television on the MLB Network.
He too was on MLB
reporting
Wow.
from San Diego.
I think AJ may have broken this story.
I can't wait to give AJ, you know what, when he comes, because he's been ducking us. He has. I don't know if he's been. That's what I'm going to ask him. Has he been mad at us because we haven't been able to get him until?
Have you been beating him in the fantasy basketball league? Is this why?
I don't know if I've been beating much of anybody.
Aren't you guys last year the bottom two teams in the league?
I was the worst. He was the second.
You were the only thing keeping him afloat.
Really what? Now, I am happy to say that although I am still terrible, I am already
improved a little bit?
I've improved a lot of
good.
So
all right.
We'll see where this thing goes. But I plan on asking him if he was upset with us or something.
All right. Well, we'll have AJ on. We'll play you more of what Mike Shildt said today at the press conference. I'll tell you one thing about Mike Shildt. That last name makes you a little concerned if you're a radio broadcaster, Tony. You're going to have to say Shildt a lot
all
this year.
The time, yeah.
Yes, be careful. Be careful. Because if that L doesn't show up in the pronunciation,
how does it sound?
You're going to be in hot water.
How does it sound, Chris?
How does it sound if you don't use the
please
L?
Don't do it. Don't do it. I was just kidding. I felt like when I said that, he would never do it, but then I felt like he was going to do it.
He might.
Mike what?
Mike who?
Mike All right. New manager. Padres have their guy. We will talk much more about it with AJ Cassavell when we continue on Gwynn and Chris.
The biggest fan contest is back on
Matt Skraby, AJ Cassavell will join us here shortly. Padres have a new manager, Mike Shildt, will take the reins of this organization and see if he can get back to kind of the promise.
Take the reins of this wayward ship and try and steer it back on course.
All of that.
Yeah.
All of that. Yeah, we talked about it last segment. Think it's a good hire. We'll hear from AJ Cassavell here shortly. Padres, as I said, had a full interview process. Sounds like Adrian Gonzalez was also interviewed in this process. So that's 5 by my count that all were interviewed, and the Padres decided to go with Shildt when it was all said and done.
They went with the guy that we all thought all along, which, as I said in the first segment, is a bit of a surprise in and itself.
Yeah,
that AJ Preller did not pull somebody out of left field, which he has done in the past.
Let's get to the phone lines. AJ Cassavell joins us. AJ, before we get started in this interview, are you mad at this, man? We feel like we haven't talked in quite some time.
I took a break. I took a week, about a week and a half, and went camping in Yosemite and Sequoia. And that's where I've been. I had to check out for a little bit, but I'm back, baby.
It's only a week and a half. It felt a lot longer, man, I must say. You hit the ground running today. I mean, Mike Shildt gets the job. You were one of the first I saw report on it. What's your takeaway after going to the press conference and the Padres settling on their manager?
My takeaway is kind of what you guys just said, that maybe the biggest surprise is how unsurprising this all kind of unfolded. I mean, I would have put Shildt as probably the favorite when the job became available last month. And I mean, he got the job for a lot of the reasons I think we all thought he might. He knows the organization pretty well. He has a track record of winning in St. Louis. He knows he was there in 2022 and saw what went right. He was there in 2023 and saw what went wrong. And so he's worked with AJ Preller. Like, a lot of the reasons we kind of all anticipated that he would be a favorite for this job seem to be the reasons that he ended up getting it.
What happened with him in St. Louis, AJ, or how much do we know of what happened with him? I mean, the guy wins 90 games. He goes to the playoffs 3 years in a row. I believe the 90-win team got into the playoffs by winning 17 straight games in September, putting on an amazing run down the stretch. Then they lose a one-game playoff to the Dodgers, and he's out the door. I know he probably isn't touching on that, but just around baseball circles, what do we think happened there? Do we know?
Yeah, I think some of what's been reported in the past is essentially come down to he was, I think, maybe intense in a way that rubbed some people in that organization the wrong way. And I think he has kind of acknowledged something of that measure in interviews he's done in the past, and said he'd like the chance to learn from that and grow from that. And I mean, I think his intensity is kind of readily apparent in who he is when he manages games. And I think there's also a guy that is clearly a baseball crazed guy and seems willing to learn and willing to adapt. I mean, you could say he's old school, and he certainly is old school in kind of some of the things he says and the way he goes about it, but he also is willing to take new information and to use it to win games, which he did in St. Louis. So I would say that I think that I don't know exactly why it ended in St. Louis, what went wrong toward the end. Obviously on the field, not a whole lot did go wrong because they made the playoffs 3 straight years under him.
Right.
But if he has said kind of that he's kind of willing to learn from some of those things going forward, which he has, I think that's a positive thing.
Yeah, it's always a positive thing. I think as the city gets to know Mike, they'll realize this is a man that is not above those type of things, being able to change
a little bit.
Say again?
Looking in the mirror a little bit.
He's not. He's a very humble individual. AJ, would you say that one of the more important things that I think when you look at the group that was interviewed, and you kind of hit on it, was that Mike has already worked with AJ. He kind of knows what and how this process is going to go, or he has an idea at least, right?
Yeah, I think I don't know if that's so important in the hiring of Shildt in the first place and AJ's decision to make Shildt the manager. I think it's maybe more important going forward now that he's in place. Things can kind of take off a little more quickly
Yeah.
than they would with another guy, because Shildt understands kind of AJ's relentlessness and his desire to win. They clearly have a really good rapport, which I think was probably not the case with AJ Preller and some of his previous managers. So I mean, we'll see kind of what that means going forward. But I think the fact that Shildt understands the organization, that Shildt spent a lot of time at different levels of the organization, not just with the big league club. I mean, he spent some time going to minor leagues, going to instructional camps and whatnot. That when they call up some of these guys that they're inevitably going to have to call up in the next year or so, Mike Shildt will know them. That these are only positive things, and the fact that he's kind of had an impact and worked with a lot of those guys and has drawn rave reviews from big leaguers. I imagine that the same holds true for his work with some of the minor leaguers, and some of the background that he has is definitely a positive thing.
AJ Cassavell is our guest here on Gwynn and Chris down at Petco Park today. You could have spotted him. I'm sure they'll probably play a tape of you reporting live from Petco Park. You might be able to watch yourself later on MLB Network. You looked good, AJ, by the way. You were square, centered in the frame. And your report, I didn't hear it.
Your break served you well, it sounds
but it
like.
looked good. Yeah, you looked solid.
That's not my doing. They make me look good. They put me in the right space and tell me where to look.
You didn't have to take makeup or anything. I think it was just a natural look. You did a nice job. Very nice. AJ Preller, do you get the sense in the interim of Bob Melvin leaving and the hiring now of Mike Shildt that AJ Preller senses that he may have to amend a few things in the way he runs this ball club? Do you get that sense? I know that, he has said that, everybody's got to learn from what happened last year. We talked about Mike Shildt learning from his first experience with the Cardinals and trying to make some changes. It seems to me AJ is kind of in position to hopefully do something similar, AJ.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to view it, because I think that's kind of what I've heard from him lately. But that was also probably the case after Jay Stingler, when they hired Bob Melvin. It's gonna come down to actions. It's gonna come down to, when the going gets tough in the season, how well do these two work together? Obviously, that's not entirely on AJ. It's a relationship between the GM and the manager that kind of needs to be developed over time. So we'll see what happens. But I think there was maybe a desire to change after things went flat in the 2021 season, that you saw maybe some subtle stuff change in 2022, and then it kind of fell apart in 2023. So I think AJ Preller, say what you will about some things of the way he runs the team, he seems to be kind of willing to adapt and figure out what. I mean, he hired Bob Melvin, and now here he is hiring Mike Shildt. He seems to be willing to kind of put that foot forward to try and understand when things have gone wrong, what needs to happen for them to go right. We'll see what happens when adversity hits, because it inevitably does over the course of the baseball season.
AJ Cassavell joins us here, and AJ, obviously, there's way too many. We had a discussion the other day how many AJs there are surrounding San Diego. AJ, there's still a lot of work to be done. Got the manager now. Now, I assume the focus now turns to filling the spots on the roster. What are you looking forward to in that regard?
Pitching. It's got to be pitching. There's just so many holes right now. It's not just the rotation anymore with some of the moves they made recently. The bullpen, I think, needs some solidifying. So the way I see it, there are guys available in the market. I think there are probably guys you can find and maybe go the Michael Wacha, Seth Lugo route in terms of buy low, get them working with Ruben Niebla, who I think we all feel is a really, really good pitching coach and can have some success stories that way, get them pitching in San Diego and get them going in the right direction. But I still just feel like they might have to ultimately make a trade or two to get some of the pitching that they're lacking right now. Because this rotation, it has the two guys at the front, Joe Musgrove and Yu Darvish, and you hope that they're healthy for next season. But after that, there's just two marks for you to say, oh, we'll fill it all in free agency. So I assume that they will, going forward, that'll be the top priority. And then in the bullpen, they need some high caliber back end arms as well.
I know AJ Preller was asked about Juan Soto today. What is your sense? We don't know what's going to happen, but what is your sense of what you think may happen, Soto? Does it make sense to try to fill a bunch of those spots you talked about by moving him, or does it make more sense to keep him because he is part of the solution, not part of the problem?
My sense is that it's going to take a while for if anything develops on that front for it to develop. So I think that you go into the offseason maybe looking to make trades elsewhere to make sure you're in a decent spot, because if Juan Soto negotiates something long term or going on behind closed doors, then I suspect that's not something we would learn about until probably well into spring training. And if they're not, or if Juan Soto is set on hitting the open market after the 2024 season, I just think that's something you wait to see that it's happened. And if this trade comes to fruition, if the Padres are open to dealing Juan Soto, and if someone meets what should be a high asking price, I just don't see it happening anytime soon. And I also don't necessarily see the Padres viewing that as their avenue to get those pieces they need. It would have to if you're trading Juan Soto, you're setting yourself back for the 2024 season, right? Because he is an unbelievable hitter. He's a guy that you stick in the middle of your order as one of the best hitters on track to be one of the best hitters of all time. I think you need to plan with that as how you're going to go about things going forward, and not use that as this crutch to kind of hold you up and say, oh, well, we can always get pitching that way. And then if the trade comes to fruition, maybe later in the offseason or into spring training, then that's something you can jump at and something you can certainly help your current team with. But if I'm roster planning right now at this point in the offseason, I'm not planning to trade Juan Soto. You need to kind of be, I think, blown away by an offer.
AJ, any conversation about the staff? Obviously, Matt Williams left with Bo Mel, as did Ryan Christensen. Ryan Flaherty has been in that kind of associate manager spot. Any conversation of what the staff is going to look like aside from Ruben Niebla?
Yeah, Shildt has essentially said he'd be open to working with everyone on that staff because he's had good experiences with them. Flaherty, I think, is the big one because he was obviously a candidate for the manager's spot, and he interviewed. And I asked AJ Preller directly afterward about Ryan Flaherty's status going forward, and he says that's something we're gonna get into. But they obviously think very highly of Ryan, and that they would like to have him back if they can. So that's still TBD. I think the manager search has been dominating things so much that now it's time to kind of take that step and look at who's on the staff. But I think, like you said, Ruben Niebla, he's under contract. He's back. Ben Fritz is also under contract. The expectation is he'll be back. I don't know the rest of kind of where things will fall, but I know that a lot of that comes from the manager's say. And now that the Padres have a manager in place, they can kind of move forward with what that plan will be.
AJ Cassaville, great stuff, great insight. As always, I wanted to just ask you one last thing about, and I know it's so early, I mean, in the passing of Peter Seidler, do you still get the sense that the reports that have said this team is going to probably reduce payroll, that is the path they're going to follow this offseason?
Well, it certainly seems like that. I just don't know. I don't know the specifics of it being a certain dollar amount. I think there may be some more fiscally prudent decisions to be made, but I also think that you can compete with the payroll that's less than what it was last season, because last season was the top 3 payroll in baseball. If you're top 10, you can still be competitive that way if you sign the right guys, make the right decisions, have the right people developing and coaching up those guys. So I guess looking forward, I would kind of, based on some of the moves they made recently in terms of letting some of the option guys walk and non-tendering some of the guys that they did, and the trade last week with Barlow, like certain moves like that kind of make me think that, yeah, the payroll will be less than it was. But I also have not heard, I know there've been some reports of it getting under a certain number of specific numbers. I don't know that to be the case. I just think it's probably going to change to a point where I think they feel they can still be competitive while reducing it to some extent.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Again, this is why you're reluctant to talk about what the roster is going to look like, can look like, because we don't actually know.
Right.
If there's a hard line number they're trying to get to, certainly things point to the fact of them bringing the salary down below what it was last year. But as AJ mentioned, that was top 3 in baseball last year. So,
Yeah.
AJ, speaking of the devil, you're on TV right
There you
now.
are.
How about that?
How are you doing
This
this?
is
No way.
amazing. You're doing both. You're literally talking at the same time. It's
I'm
unbelievable.
a multitasker. That's how I do it.
You
No,
are
this is
both-
the live. This
you-
is the live show.
No doubt about it.
You are
AJ,
both Penn and Teller
yes,
at the same time.
indeed.
A magician.
AJ, good luck in fantasy basketball the rest of the way, and we need to
We
do
both
this.
need it. We both need it.
Let's do it again soon, man. Good to talk to you.
Thanks, AJ.
Of course. Thanks, guys.
AJ Cassavell, MLB.com, pulling off the Houdini trick, speaking to us on air and being on TV at the same time. Pretty remarkable.
You know,
That
you
is.
think it's remarkable, but I've seen you do that about
Really?
50 times. You'll be in here doing the show, and you'll also be on your Padre Magazine television show. I've seen you do this all kinds of times.
Good
Remember
old,
that?
All over the
good
place.
old Padres POV.
Yeah.
That was
I
fun.
missed that show.
I miss it too. It was good. Listen, I think everything AJ said. The thing that I find interesting is, it's not really interesting, but we don't know what the payroll is going to look like. I mean, we've been talking as though it's going to has to be at 200 or
We
somewhere.
think we know.
We think we know, but
Yeah.
we actually have no idea. So we'll see how that kind of plays out. In case you just tuned in, Padres name their manager. Mike Shildt gets the chance at getting this team going in the right direction after a really disappointing 2023 season. All right. We got the 3:00 hour right around the corner. Daily Gambit. A lot going on in sports, including something that's starting to come out of Ohtani's camp in terms of his expectation for free
It's
agency.
very strange.
I know I was going to guess as to where he may go, but now I'm scared
Yeah.
to make a guess.
You should be. You should be. At least the team that you name should be.
He's
Yeah,
gonna
right.
sue you, Chris.
It could get ugly. Not only that, but Justin Jefferson doesn't give an F about your fantasy football.
Well, you know
team.
what? I don't give a bleep about him.
Yeah, we'll discuss 3:00 hour on the way.
Heading on into the 3 o'clock hour on this Tuesday before Thanksgiving, it is Chris Ello, Tony Gwynn Jr., Matt Skraby, Gwynn and Chris, not only on 97.3 The Fan, but also you can watch the proceedings on YouTube. Search 97.3 The Fan. You can watch the stream of the program, see us in action. That way, when I wave, you'll see me waving at you. Isn't that exciting? This hour
Isn't that exciting?
Yeah,
That's amazing, Chris.
yeah, I know. Technology, guys, it just blows my mind.
Unbelievable.
This hour is brought to you by the Caltrans Stormwater Program. Visit cleanwaterca.com. Let's change this to that by picking up after our pets, reducing pesticide use, and regularly servicing vehicles. Learn how at cleanwaterca.com. That's cleanwaterca.com. It's from the Caltrans Stormwater Program. Getting into, go ahead.
Well, Skraby, I just thought about this because you showed us to this. I think you showed us off air, but you got the ring at your house. It captured somebody picking up their dog's poop.
Yes.
That had to make you. Do you think they actually picked it up this time because they know you have cameras now?
Well,
Or is this just a good neighbor?
That is true. Chris, you were here on Friday, but I'm sitting on my phone and I see a thing come in and I check and it was someone picking up their dog's stuff from our yard.
Oh,
Now
So-
we've had shows
that
before.
shouldn't be complimented. That should be expected.
It should be
It
expected.
should be
But
expected.
he's
Yeah.
gone off before because
Right.
he's
The neighborhood
found
pooper.
the neighborhood
The
poop.
neighborhood pooper.
Do you think that was the neighborhood pooper?
You have so many neighborhood thises, neighborhood that's. You had the person who took your parking spot all the time.
Oh,
You have the person who doesn't clean up the poop. You have people.
Don't even get me started on the parking
I mean, it's
spot.
unbelievable. Where do you live?
In a circus.
My
That's where I live.
goodness.
That's where I live. And so I showed
Your
Tony
dog
that.
rolls around in coyote poop. I mean, I don't know where you live.
Folks in
Are
their
you
cars,
sure you're-
man,
are you-
ain't doing right.
Do you
man.
drive to Montana every night? I mean,
No.
it's just crazy.
But Lucky was going for some coyote poop today, and I was like, Lucky! Running after him.
Man,
It's a sight. It's a sight.
How
guys.
old is Lucky?
He'll be 2 in March.
Oh, he's a puppy still.
Yeah, he's a puppy. Oh,
it's
he's definitely a
amazing
puppy.
to me because Tony, you and I share most stories about what goes on in our personal situations. Yet none of the things that happen in Skraby's neighborhood happen in my neighborhood.
Neither they have
None
not
of
happened in
them.
mine either.
Well,
Taking parking spots,
tow
Yeah.
truck drivers
pooping
not
in your
showing
yard,
up.
not doing what you're supposed to do.
I
with
don't
it.
think that was the neighborhood pooper.
You think this was a good neighbor.
This was a good neighbor, but I also think that they knew there was a camera there, and
Hey,
they're like, okay,
sometimes what I recognize is sometimes there needs to be a deterrent.
there does.
The camera is a deterrent for. a
I
lot
need
of
to
people.
get like a mean dog sign or something too.
Oh, now you want to terrify people.
Mean
Well, yeah.
dog sign.
Because Lucky is vicious.
I bet.
He's not. He's like a little teddy bear.
Yeah. We're coming up on go. What else do you have before I get
No,
to,
never
get
mind.
to business?
No,
here?
no.
No, he gets so mad when we don't get to things, and now when I
No,
try to
you're
get
right.
to something,
I did drag him here.
You're right.
interrupting.
You're right, Chris.
No, I don't mind if you have something else.
Do we want
share.
to? Do I want to tell my story about seeing a car accident now or later?
I think it might be good for now.
Oh, now. Okay. So on the way to work today, I was on side streets. It wasn't on the freeway or anything. And this person drives by me on the right. I'm in the middle lane of a 3-lane road. And I look, and as this person's driving, I see this person.
Are you at a light?
No. I'm not at a light. We're just driving
So you're just
40
driving.
miles an hour down the road.
Okay.
And I'm looking at this lady, and she is on FaceTime while she's driving. Has it clear as day in
How do you know?
because
Like,
I
isn't
saw
she
the
whizzing
person.
past you.
No,
So-
it was like this.
So was it one of those like glance you looked over as you were driving? Because
No,
you could
I
you could
looked.
stare.
Amazing
You're
to me.
driving.
I looked again,
All right.
and then I slowed down to look a third time.
And she's full FaceTime.
Full FaceTime. I don't
Okay.
know who she was talking about, but she was doing this. If you're on the camera, she was just like driving, doing this with her phone in her hand.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
And then all of a sudden, there was a light coming up,
All right.
and I'm like, this woman is
doesn't-
not slowing
she
down.
doesn't
She's
see it.
going to crash.
Uh-oh.
And you know how you get that feeling? You know something bad's going to happen? That was the feeling. So she goes plowing into the car at the light, and she gets out of the car, and she's still on FaceTime. Like,
It's
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I got to call you back while
Just-
she's outside of her car looking at the
She
accident.
wanted to let the person she hit know that the reason she hit you is because I was on FaceTime. See here, look.
See, Skraby, you and I as millennials,
Yes, yes.
we would have, our first thought would have been, oh, you know what?
Yeah.
Let me get rid of this phone.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't seem as though, not this young lady though.
No.
She got out full phone, full FaceTime.
Like so upset too that she just got in a crash. She's like, I can't believe I just got in a crash right now, to her face.
Now, please tell the best part of this story. Now, Skraby, what was your instincts?
My instinct?
After she crashed, even though you had some place to be.
Oh, to stick around and be a
whistleblower.
Yeah, a whistleblower. Thank you. And what am I? I can't. A witness. That's what I'm looking for. I wanted to. When I saw this go down, I knew the police were gonna. No, I knew the police were gonna come.
FaceTime, guaranteed.
Exactly, Chris.
He wanted to. Wait, it wasn't that you wanted to be a witness.
I wanted to have a court summons.
You wanted to hang around, even though you had some place to be.
I did. I had to come to work. Officer, I need to talk to you over here.
I saw
Streets
her.
Detective.
She got out of her car on FaceTime.
No, I was going to tell him, officer, this woman was on FaceTime when the vehicle impacted the other vehicle.
Oh my Lord.
Yes.
I just felt like
someone just called me a snitch on the stream.
I just felt like
you're the last person I would ever want to do something wrong around.
Skraby told this.
You would alert the authorities
100%.
immediately.
100%.
I would have loved to receive a notification that I need to be in court on a certain day.
I am doing no dirt around Skraby.
No,
ever.
don't do anything wrong around.
Well, no. You can do dirt, just don't do the annoying dirt, which is talk on FaceTime while you're driving.
Now we're slicing up dirt. Which one's good? Which one's bad? That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Let's play. Let's get to this. Let's do this.
Better get to the Daily Gambler. You're gonna get mad.
Do you like money?
I think about money a lot.
Do you like money without doing anything?
Winning.
Do you want to make money while watching sports?
I think Washington is immortal luck.
Washington! Woohoo! If you answered yes, this is your segment. Just don't blame us when you lose.
Nothing is ever your fault.
It's your game. Take it.
Gwynn and Chris go through the top bets of the day in The Daily Gambit on 97.3 The Fan.
Daily Gambit's our daily sports betting segment here on Gwynn and Chris. And if you want to join the chat, actually, you know what? The chat is the place to be during 2 to 6. You just need to go to YouTube and type in 97.3 The Fan, find our live stream. We do it every day now. You can also find it on Twitter and Facebook, just typing in 97.3 The Fan. But last night we did have some bets that we need to review, and then I got some betting news that I want to go over with you guys. First one was my parlay from last night. I was feeling real good about this one because Jalen Hurts just needed a tush-push touchdown. He got that, but he also had another one as well, so it would have hit twice.
It's the most unstoppable play in football.
And you know what I listened
to?
The
funny part was when they did the brotherly shove last night. Initially, it looked like the Chiefs had stopped them, and then like a surge,
just keeps, the pile keeps moving.
It moved like 3 yards.
There is no other team in football that does it anywhere close to as well as the Eagles do.
Not even close.
And there's a lot of people that are trying to imitate it, but until everybody can just do it guaranteed, they can't outlaw the play.
Right. It would have to be like a league-wide thing.
Right. So if everybody just gains 3 yards every time, then they'd have to outlaw it.
I'm ankle biting if I'm a team.
Until then,
I am.
Until then, you got to let the Eagles have their way with that.
Oh, Jalen Hurts, that's your ankle? Oh, I'm so sorry. I just twisted it.
That's the thing. You're not even getting to his ankle. That's how good the dudes in front of him are.
I cannot stand when people love the Eagles. It's like maybe one of the most mind-blowing things to me. Patrick Mahomes needed over 26.5 yards rushing. He got 38. So we're 2 of the 3 legs in. All I needed were the Chiefs to win by 3. They had it. They gave it up at the end, and the parlay failed.
Who's your friend, Valdez Scantling?
Yeah, Marcus Valdez Scantling.
Dropped your parlay.
Hey,
Oh,
Right
Also,
there in the
Travis
end
Kelce had a
zone.
chance.
he had a couple.
We're going to
drops.
get to Travis Kelce in the Big
Oh,
Five
gosh.
because
Here we go.
fans have
I
turned
knew
on
it.
him.
I knew it was
Fans have
coming.
turned on him.
I knew it was coming.
I have not turned on him. But
I just want to
fans
tell
have turned on
everybody
him.
out there that's flying high with the Eagles. They're 9-1. They have the best record in football, which is rare for a defending Super Bowl loser, by the way. So they are doing something that not many teams that lose Super Bowls do. But I believe the Eagles are about the luckiest team I've ever seen. I am tired of the Eagles getting every benefit from the officials. I did not need that applause, Skraby. But I am still bitter about the Miami game when they were not penalized a single time. They also were not
They played
penalized.
perfect football.
They were also not penalized last night on DeAndre Swift's touchdown run around the right side, in which the end was clearly
Holding.
grabbed and held.
I've never seen holding.
The Kansas City. That
So
was like one of the more
Yeah,
obvious holds
it
I've
was.
ever seen.
It was
They
crazy.
missed that one. And then, Valdez Scantling drops the ball. That's not an officials thing. But I just want to say the Eagles are living right. They are living right now. Look, go back to the Cowboy game. Dak Prescott would have got the tying 2-point conversion. His toe hit the out of bounds. I mean, the Eagles are living
True.
right. We'll see if it holds up for the rest of the way.
I think the 49ers play them in 2 weeks. So
Yeah, well, I'll be rooting for the Eagles in that game. But I just want to see what happens in the other games. That's all.
All right. The next one would be Chris's bets, and it would be Travis Kelce over under 77.5 yards receiving. We all went over. We were all incorrect. He had 44 yards receiving. Marquette and UCLA, I believe, was last night, and they were 6-point favorites. We all chose Marquette. Marquette did win, but we were wrong because they only won by 2.
So rough night.
71-69. Clippers 8.5-point favorites over the Spurs. All of us chose the Spurs, and the Clippers win by 25, 124-99. And finally,
The LA Kings ruined our clean sweep.
the
of
Kings
misery.
-1.5 on the puck line. All of us chose the Kings, and the Kings beat the Yotes 4-1.
Kings 8-0 on the road this year.
Also,
Warriors.
Ben Higgins of the morning show, you may have heard of him, is still in the
Go
Odyssey
big.
Survivor pool. There are 6 people left, and he picked the Lions. So
he barely
he
survived.
was sweating that one out right there, but
Yeah,
we
but
still
he
have
got it.
6 people left. We're going into week 12.
That's
Good for you,
amazing.
Ben.
Go, Ben.
That is amazing stuff.
Do
All
it.
right. So
Go
here
all the way.
are some Tony, why don't you tell us about the Justin Jefferson thing real quick? Or I can go first and then
Justin Jefferson has just had it with you folks out there and your fantasy teams.
Good for
Apparently, his DMs are being flooded. Is this his quote right here?
No, that's another one.
That's a different one.
Yeah.
I got to pull it up on my phone exactly what he said, but just know that
It included the F word. I know that.
he is not here for any games at this point. And listen, what you can tell is that his own frustration of being hurt
Is plenty for him.
is-
He doesn't need you to
Exactly.
pile on as a fantasy owner and tell him to hurry back.
It is bleeding into his frustration. He basically said he doesn't give
a
a
bleep.
bleep about
He
your
shouldn't.
fantasy team. He is going to play when he's healthy. And that's it. No matter how much you flood his DMs and tell him that he needs to get back in there.
Which, by the way, can we talk for a second? The
It's
person that floods the players' DMs with fantasy football complaining, I don't want to know you. I'm sorry. That is just weird.
It
You
seems
mean
weird.
if you had Justin Jefferson, you wouldn't have sent him
No.
10 notes by now?
No,
Come on.
no, I would not. I would not.
Scraby, I just want to tell you, I'd be disappointed at you
If I did?
If you sent anybody.
I'd be disappointed if you didn't send a note.
Oh, I am never going to be sending a note to the player like it's their fault.
After I beat you in fantasy football last week, I would find it surprising that you didn't email every one of your players and tell them to perform better,
Email.
They
that-
won't see it.
Yeah,
or
they will.
text them or whatever.
I guess I'll just send them a letter in the mail, in
That
like the
is
snail
hilarious.
mail.
Snail mail.
Well, Justin Jefferson, he can have that opinion. Dak Prescott also was asked about this because he gets a lot of fans in his DMs after games. I mean, Dak Prescott's been playing good fantasy-wise, but betting is a different story. So they asked him about betting and what he thinks when fans get in his DMs, and he said, I get when fans are upset. I get it. I laugh at it because I understand it's an angry fan. But then there are other cases. Those are the times you have to remember he must have had his whole rent on that one. And he said basically the way for you to become a happier person if you're angry with Dak and the Cowboys is to not gamble, which is a simple. You know, when
Be
I
careful what you wish for, Dak, because if they ever outlaw gambling on NFL games, which includes fantasy
I don't
football,
know why Chris
the
is so mad at
ratings
Dak
will.
for this.
I'm not mad at Dak. I'm saying that if they ever outlawed gambling on NFL games and they outlawed fantasy football and somehow they were able to actually keep everyone from doing it, I think the ratings would be cut in half on the NFL.
Ratings would be cut
Yeah,
in
I
half.
think so too.
I don't think people would watch anywhere near as much as they do.
They were,
I agree with that.
Before there were fantasy and people were still watching. These guys were still making a boatload of cash.
True.
It may not be 40 mil a year.
We watched before fantasy football because we didn't know what we were missing. But now that we have fantasy football, I'll go back again to the Thursday or Sunday night game this week. You and I were playing fantasy football, but we had no Vikings and no Broncos, neither of us. So I did not watch the game. I had no interest.
You watched it?
I watched it.
I watched it too.
That's
Okay.
right.
That's why. That's why I forgot. I forgot. We have Mr. Russell Wilson over there. Real quick, after last night's win, the Eagles are now favorites to win the Super Bowl ahead of the Chiefs and 49ers. Both the Chiefs and 49ers are plus 475. The Eagles are plus 450. Tonight's Pacers-Hawks game is the highest NBA over-under since 1995. 252.5 points.
Yeah, Pacers are putting up some big numbers.
So
and
that's
they're
like
not guarding anybody.
135, 120 will get you there.
Yeah,
like
you
that's a
gotta get
lot of
ton.
points.
But the last Pacers game was 144 to 126.
That's crazy.
They got the 270 against the Bucks.
Wow.
So
Last one for me. Someone did win wow, malfunction. 14-leg parlay. And they hit the 14-leg parlay in a weird way, actually.
It's just pure luck.
A weird
It's
way,
just
actually.
Pure luck.
They chose 14 NFL games, and they said those games will not go into overtime. All of them.
Okay.
And so they won. But their odds out of the 14 legs was minus 240 because everything was so like on his side. And so
had
they
to
won.
put down 240 to win 100.
They put down $1 and they won $1.42.
Yeah.
So
They put down $1?
if you want to win a
$1.
14-leg parlay, try
That's
that.
probably a way to do it.
Yeah, try that.
All right.
So that's it for
I
me.
mean, yeah, I know we criticize people for putting down like $100, 250. This guy said I'm putting $1 down.
$1 seems a bit waste of a time.
I just got a text saying that I should become a Seahawks fan.
I think you should.
That's not going to happen.
I'm going to delete
people.
that person from my phone right
Yeah,
now.
it's not gonna
Maybe
happen.
they're saying you should because I don't know what they're saying. Actually.
I don't know what they're
No.
saying either. That
I
was
was
the
gonna-
He
most offensive
despises
thing.
the Seahawks.
Most offensive thing anybody's ever texted me.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
who you are. You're not texting me anymore.
Seahawks and who's the
You're
other
fired.
team? There's another one that you hate on.
I
all
don't
the
really
time.
like the Rams, but I hate the Eagles right now.
It was
The Eagles are my
Seattle's
favorite
the team
to
that
hate.
you have hated for a long time,
Yeah,
which is why you didn't like Let's Ride
Yeah.
before.
but the Eagles are the ones now. Just Nick Sirianni dancing around on the sidelines like
To the victors go the spoils, Skrabe.
Mm-mm.
If the 49ers win, get to the Super
It's
Bowl
because
finally,
Kyle-
they'll
it's
be
'cause-
dancing.
It's because Kyle Shanahan has no rhythm at all. He's just, he's just
Don't get mad at Nick
it's not Nick
Sirianni.
Sirianni's fault.
the guy cried in his opening press conference. Okay,
He also misspoke about 65 times.
he
but he's
did.
made up for it.
He has.
Oh,
He
that's
has.
right. That was tough to watch.
Yeah,
that
it
first
was.
one.
All right, that's it.
All right. If you want to bet on one other thing here before we get done with this segment, I got a sure thing for you coming up at 3:40 this afternoon. Bet on Tony Gwynn Jr. to win Chris's Fantabulous Sports Game
What
Show.
are the odds, Chris?
Well, Tony's minus 4,000.
Wow.
You're plus 10 grand to win.
Okay.
So we will
Jeez.
see if you can finally pull off.
Where
a
can I actually
Fantabulous
bet on
Sports
this?
Game show? We are.
No, where can I actually bet on this?
Just give me $100 and I'll
He's your
book your
bookie.
bet.
He's your bookie.
I'll book your
I
bet.
don't
If you
trust
win,
you.
I'll
I
pay
don't
you.
trust you.
Yeah, I feel pretty comfortable that you'll give me $100 and I won't have to pay you. Fantabulous Sports Game Show's coming up. More Gwynn and Chris following a check of traffic.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center.
.326 on the clock. Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Ello, scaring the snitch.
You people out there have unbelievable memories.
I shouldn't have told you guys.
I didn't realize we did this show for elephants and NFL cornerbacks.
Right?
I mean, you people remember everything we say. I mean, we called you Scarin, or somebody called you Scarin like 3 weeks ago in reference to your Karen-like behavior.
It wasn't Karen-like behavior. I had an appointment scheduled for a tow truck guy. He never showed up.
Even if this situation wasn't Karen-like behavior, you have demonstrated that type of behavior before.
Did I consider staying around the accident scene to be a key witness?
Scaring
the
behavior
state's
right
witness? Yes, I did. I did want to do that, but I had to get to work, so
you're
kept
agreeing
moving.
with the snitch part of the reference.
It's not. I'm not being a snitch when you're doing it in public.
No,
doing a public service.
It's just
no. When you're in public and you're on FaceTime while you're driving,
snitch is done behind closed doors.
Yeah, if there's some deal going on behind closed doors, and then I go tell someone, that is a snitch.
Some would argue that, a snitch at least gets something out of the deal. This is just pure joy for you to get this.
Yes. Oh yes. Especially because I really am tired. I really am tired of people on their phones while we're driving.
And listen, I agree with you. There's nothing worse than looking to your right or left and seeing somebody or in front of you.
It's much worse if they're behind you.
Oh, behind.
If you're looking in your rearview mirror and the person driving is looking down at their phone, know they're waiting to bash into your car. That can be a little unsettling.
Just a little bumper car.
Touche.
That can be unsettling.
As I said, 328 right now. Kim Mulkey, we talked a little bit about this yesterday in regards to Angel Reese, right? We talked a little bit about her not being available to team. Once again, she didn't play last night. And Kim Mulkey, who is the Hall of Fame head coach for LSU, obviously this is I think this is the third game Angel Reese has missed. And she's
2 or 3.
She's starting to be asked this question
every game.
Yeah. And, I think early she kind of gave short answers. She has refused to go in depth. And, as I am trying to stretch this out a little bit to get Skraby the time.
The clip is not stopping.
to get the clip up. She put her foot in the ground last night. And this is something that I think the good coaches do in terms of what's going on behind closed doors. I don't know how much more farther I can go.
I'll jump in a little bit because we talked about whether she's doing the right thing here.
Yeah.
And I think as somebody who plays for her, you would appreciate the fact that she's always going to have your back. But as somebody who's on the outside looking in, like we are in this TMZ society, I don't know that it wouldn't be such a terrible thing if Kim Mulkey just gave us at least a hint as to what is going on with Angel Reese, because we're just making up our own narrative now. And I think it's bad for Angel Reese.
Here's what Kim had to say.
You always have to deal with locker room issues. That's just part of coaching. In 40 years, I can never think of a time where I didn't have to deal with issues. That's what coaches do. Sometimes y'all know about them and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you want to know more than you're entitled to know. I'm going to protect my players, always. They are more important. It's like a family, Scott. Let me ask you this. If you do some disciplining of your own children, do you think we're entitled to know that? That's a family in that locker room.
And
it's hard to argue that.
It really is when it's put into that perspective, because oftentimes on the outside looking, we don't look at that as being a family. We look at it as a basketball team that's out to win games. But when you are a part of that, the good teams certainly feel like a family. And so I think Kim Mulkey is just protecting her family.
She's going to let everybody speculate all they want. She's just not going to confirm or deny any of it.
She's not going to go there. And I think in today's society, sports world, oftentimes coaches, organizations, teams give into that. And this is a case where it seems like Kim Mulkey is not going to give into that at all.
Yeah, I respect it, and I'm not going to personally. I could really give a hoot as to what's going on with Angel Reese, but I just feel bad for Angel Reese because everybody's making up all of these narratives. Well, she's not going to class. She's failing tests. She's insubordinate. She doesn't come to practice. She doesn't listen to I mean, everybody's minds are running away with them.
She can put an end to this real quick though.
Here's the
I know, but she's not going to, and I think we have to respect. I think I respect it.
Right.
Tony does, and not
everybody's going to.
Yeah, the guys at TMZ aren't going to respect it. They're going to keep digging until they find out what's happening.
Here's the deal.
That's what they're there for.
And this is, I think, a crossroad that a lot of athletes come into when and it's usually when they are under the microscope. You have to make a decision at that point of how much social media you're gonna take in, because in these situations, that is where the majority of it's gonna come from. The speculation, the different innuendos, whatever it is. And this is where a lot of athletes will be like, you know what? I'm gonna take a break for a little bit. That way I'm going to protect myself from seeing anything that could upset me.
You know who else should take a break? Angel Reese's parents, her mom especially, because her mom's getting into bidding or yelling wars on Twitter with people who are surmising what's going on with her daughter, and she's telling them to mind their own business. And she's telling people, she's ripping on other people, telling them if you're in a glass house, don't throw stones. It's getting a little touchy.
Some of that interaction has gone between a mother of another teammate of hers.
That's right.
And so,
yeah,
listen,
it's getting touchy.
First of all, usually,
Skraby's like, what? Another mother of a team? Wait, where do I look that up? He wants to find out.
The folks who are like my age and above, when you start getting into Twitter bats, you better know how to handle it, because it's certainly going to come in a wave.
And you know what happens when you do that? Everybody just attacks you, so you 100%. Shouldn't do it.
It's Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, is so predictable in terms of how things unfold.
Apparently, I saw this thing over the weekend of a Tennessee Volunteer fan who put up this thing about Georgia, and he said something pretty stupid. But all of the Georgia fans doxed him and put out his address and put out everything else.
They doxed him, meaning they put up his phone number and address.
Doxing means that they're going to out you in your personal life.
Doxing?
Yeah, that's what they call it, doxing.
What is it short for? Documents? Or
I actually don't know.
Where does this word come from?
Only Chris wants to know what it means.
Yes, I want to know the doxing. I want to know the origin. Can you please use it in another sentence?
Okay, here we go. Doxing is the act of publicly...
Latin or is it Greek or what?
I'm trying to tell you.
All right.
Doxing is the act of publicly providing personally identifiable information about an individual organization using the internet. Historically, the term has been used interchangeably to refer both the aggregation of this information from public databases and social media sites. That doesn't tell us anything.
So you don't have an answer for me.
Doxing is a neologism.
Of course.
It originates from spelling alteration of the abbreviation docs or documents.
Thank you. That's what I was after.
See?
Proof. I was after proof that I was correct.
Hello on the something.
A neologism.
All right.
No, this is interesting.
Is it though?
Yes, it's any relatively recent isolated term, word, or phrase that has achieved popular or institutional recognition and is becoming accepted into mainstream language.
Doxing is
a neologism.
Neologism.
Yeah. Perfect.
Let's
Skraby, you can't.
You ask, Chris.
You cannot delay the Fantabulous Sports Game Show.
It's
any
coming,
longer.
buddy. It's coming. More Gwynn and Chris on the way.
Previously on the John Cantera Show.
Mike Shildt, a proven major league manager. He
Kelsey app. Download it today.
All right, this is always one of my favorite segments. One of Tony's favorite segments. Skraby probably doesn't feel quite the same way about it.
No, I've been trying to end this segment for like
He's indifferent.
a year and a half.
Well, why don't you just try to win for once?
I
and then you might
have.
like it better.
I have, Chris.
All right, it's called Chris's Fantabulous Sports Game Show. It's coming up right after we check traffic.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by California Coast Credit Union. One of the busiest travel days of the year, guys, and the roads are really starting to feel it. Got a crash now on southbound side of the 805 just before La Jolla Village Drive, blocking the 2 left lanes. Also northbound 15 at the Camino del Rio South off-ramp. There is a collision in the North County. It looks like a semi spilled its load in the roadway on the El Norte Parkway off-ramp, northbound 15. With MasterCard Local, CalCoast Credit Union members can earn 5% cash back on purchases made with CalCoast MasterCard credit and debit cards every time they shop at participating businesses. Learn more at calcoastcu.org/shop-local. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Hey, all you beautiful people out there, it's time to play one of our favorite games of the week.
All right.
We like to call it
I'm going to go
Chris's Fantabulous Sports Game Show.
It starts right now on 97.3 The Fan.
Yes, it does, and welcome to it, everybody. I'm your host, Chris Ello. Our combatants are Tony Gwynn Jr. and Matt Skraby, although you can play along out there, see how well you do. I'm going to give you a category. There are 19 correct answers today, guys. Some much more difficult than others.
Uh-oh.
Today's category, active leaders in the National Football League.
Oh, back to football.
Back to football. Active leaders in the National Football League in scoring touchdowns. There are 19
active leaders.
There are 19 players, 19 currently active players in the NFL that have scored 60 or more career touchdowns. It is your job to try to name those.
Like, are we just talking wide receiver, running back, tight end type thing?
All positions, 60 touchdowns. I don't know if you think a defensive lineman has scored 60 touchdowns.
No.
You can guess one.
Is a passing touchdown a touchdown?
No, it's not quarterbacks throwing touchdowns.
Okay,
it is
what I'm
people
asking.
scoring touchdowns.
You know, don't be so angry at me.
Not angry?
Scoring touchdowns, Scrape.
You're going to be the one who's angry probably in about 15 minutes when the game ends.
Scoring the touchdown.
Yes, throwing TD passes is not the category. It is actually scoring touchdowns. There are 19 active players who have scored 60 or more. And that this list is right up to the minute, up to date. So you will exchange going back and forth, guessing correct answers. And whoever ends up with the most, if anybody gets to 10 correct answers, they win the game right there. Or if you miss on a guess, then you get the dreaded strike. And, of course, 3 strikes, you're out. Oh. Okay, Skraby, what do you want to do? Do you want to guess first or do you want to pass?
First.
All right, guess somebody.
Travis Kelce.
Travis Kelce is on the list. He has 77.
Really the only one I got, though.
Career touchdown. Well, that's bad.
Yes, it is.
He is
not
7th.
that bad because I'm right there with
This is a difficult category, but I appreciate it.
I think as the more correct ones you get, the more you will think of. Okay. That is kind of the way I look at this. 77 touchdowns for Travis Kelce. He ranks 7th on the active list. Tony,
this is top how many?
Top 19. Got to have 60 career touchdowns to make this list. 6-0.
CMC.
Christian McCaffrey.
I didn't know.
Would seem like a pretty good guess.
Would seem like it.
And it's correct.
Oh,
he has 74 career touchdowns.
I hate you, play over here.
Christian McCaffrey ranks 10th on the active list already with 74 career touchdowns.
My goodness.
So he's way up there. All right, Skraby, your turn. This is now you're getting, if you haven't heard this game before, you're probably getting the idea of how it works. So Skraby, give me somebody that's got 60 or more career touchdowns in the National Football League.
Let me go with Tyreek Hill.
Tyreek Hill.
He's got to be on the list.
The cheetah.
He's got to be on the list.
85 touchdowns already.
That tells me that this list is going to be hard.
85 for Tyreek Hill. He ranks 4th on the active list. He's tied for 4th with somebody else.
Who am I forgetting?
These are the kind of people you want to be guessing. Obviously, very good players that have been scoring touchdowns for a while. I was a little surprised that Tyreek was that high on the list. All right, Tony, your turn to try to come up with somebody who is on the active touchdown list leaderboard.
How about
60 or more?
How about Keenan Allen?
Oh, that's a good
Keenan
one.
Allen.
That's a great one.
By the hair that is left on your head, Tony, he has 60.
Woo! Wow, really?
Yeah,
that,
he is.
That tells me how difficult this list is.
Dig deep for that one too.
He is tied for 17th. There are 2 other guys with 60. But yes, Keenan Allen barely snuck in. I think he actually caught a touchdown this past weekend.
Put him in there,
which put him to 60. Yeah, he may not have been on this
That's
list
true.
last
That's
week. All right, it's 2-2. The combatants are struggling. There are 15 correct answers out there. I didn't know. I don't like to make it too hard because I like you guys to get a lot correct, but maybe I made this one too hard. Skraby, what do you think?
I'm hoping that Devontae Adams is on the list.
Number 1.
Really?
Numero uno.
Jeez, I didn't think he was number 1.
Devontae Adams has 91 career touchdowns. This is his 10th year in the league, and he is the active leader in career touchdowns. Wow. Can win a bar bet with that one over Thanksgiving weekend. All right, 3-2 in favor of Skraby. Now, does it feel like it's opening up at all?
A little bit.
All right, Tony, what do you have?
How about Derrick Henry?
Derrick Henry.
How about him?
How about him? Oh, yeah. He's got 85. He's tied with Tyreek Hill for 4th place. Derrick Henry was an excellent guess. And we are now tied 3-3. Hopefully you're playing along out there. Hopefully you're playing along out there, probably yelling a couple of names at the radio. We'll see if you end up being correct. Skraby, your turn in a 3-3 tie with no strikes yet. Chris's Fantabulous Sports Game Show.
Stephon Diggs.
Skraby's got somebody. Who is it?
Stephon Diggs.
Stephon Diggs of the Buffalo Bill. Boy, if they only ever threw him the ball. Poor Stephon. He's just so, yes, he's on the list.
Okay,
Skraby,
good.
you're safe.
I was like, what is he going with this?
He's got 66 career touchdown passes.
Right.
He ranks 13th on the active list. Although the last 2 weeks he's been completely silent, which is not helping my cause any. All right, Tony, you're up, trailing 4-3 now, looking to even it back up.
How about D-Hop?
D-Hop.
I was saving him.
Mr. 99. Yes, he's got 75.
I knew it.
DeAndre Hopkins is who you were after. He's got 75, now plays for the Tennessee Titans. I don't think he's been in the end zone much lately.
No.
But it's tied at 4. You guys are doing all right. Now only 11 correct answers left. I will say the last 2 or 3 are really hard. So I don't know how many more you guys are going to come up with. We'll see. Tied at 4. Skraby, give me somebody who's got 60 or more career touchdowns active in the National Football League.
Give me a second.
I know Tony's got a couple saved up. I just can see it on his face. Skraby thinking it through. Closing his eyes, hoping somebody will pop in there.
Closing.
The good thing about this game, there's no time limit. If you want to do this till 6 o'clock, it's okay with me.
I'm gonna go with a crazy one.
A crazy one that usually gets you into trouble.
Yes, it does. I'm gonna go with a crazy one though.
Okay.
Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones?
There's no shot.
Who does he play for?
The Packers. He
Yes,
had like
I know.
20 touchdowns one year.
He did. He's got 63. He's
Oh,
on the list.
yeah, baby.
Maybe forget who I was thinking about.
Aaron Jones is correct. He has 63. He is 15th on the active
I didn't
touchdown
know.
list.
I mean, he's probably been injured as much as he's
only
played.
been playing 7 years, so it's not bad for Aaron Jones.
That is
Pretty
not
good
bad.
guess, Skraby. All right, 5-4.
Wow.
Skraby takes the lead. Up to Tony to try and tie it back up. Pressure goes right back on him. Anthony. Who do you have? He's thinking this through. I think you did knock his last answer out of his head,
He did.
Skraby.
Like he literally knocked it out of my head.
Knocked it right out of your head.
How
Aaron
about-
Jones?
How
Giving
about
Skraby the lead.
how about Mark Andrews?
Mark Andrews of the
That's gonna be
Baltimore
a-
Ravens.
That's not one. That's not one.
Yeah, he's not on here.
Really?
He's got 40 career touchdowns.
Wow, I didn't.
Ranks
He's
40th.
on my list. So
Skraby, you gotta stop yelling at Mike, man. You really
Sorry.
made me lose my guy.
sorry.
Well, you have time to get it back. Skraby has a way of squandering leads in this game.
I do.
But he has the lead now, 5-4. Tony has a strike, and Skraby has a turn. Active
You know, let me write this
players
down this
with
time.
60 or more touchdowns. There are 19 of them. You guys have come up with 9.
Oh,
Skraby.
What about?
I
I don't know if I want to go with that one.
Well, you have time. I'm not going anywhere.
What about Michael Thomas?
Michael Thomas of the Saints.
Yes.
Caught a lot of passes,
Yeah,
but not enough touchdowns. He's got 36 touchdowns.
All right.
Well below the threshold.
What an idiot I am. For
So
just
one
giving
strike
back the
apiece.
strike.
And Tony, now you can tie it back up with this guess. I have a feeling this game is going to extend past the top of the hour today. Tony,
How about
this is
Ezekiel
a
Elliott?
hotly contested one. I knew you'd come up with him.
That is, I thought.
I
about
knew
the
you'd come up with him
Patriots.
because you love him. And he is on the list. He's got
Yeah.
82 touchdowns.
That's pretty good.
He's 6th on the active TD list.
That's pretty good.
So we're back where we started. 5 apiece, 1 strike apiece, 9 correct answers left. There's some Pro Bowlers on here. There's some superstars on here, and there's some guys you may have trouble coming up with on here. So I will give you that much of a hint with Skraby's turn. We're just going to run past the top of the hour. We're going to take a break. What are we going to
We're
do?
gonna take a break. 'Cause this is a game to the finish right here.
Yeah, this is going to be a battle royal. We only got a couple minutes in the break, and I don't want to hurry you guys up. Skraby, give me somebody.
What about
Somebody screaming at the radio right now?
what about AJ Brown?
AJ Brown.
He's been in the league for a while.
AJ Brown has 43
Oh gosh.
career touchdowns.
Oh my gosh.
He ranks 35th. That's strike 2 on
gosh.
Skraby.
Oh my gosh.
Tony can put himself in a commanding position right here. Right now, by the way, you guys are lacking number 2, number 3, number 9, and then some more. But those are the top ones you're lacking. So there are some guys up there that are high on the list that you haven't named yet. Tony, good luck.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How about Julio Jones?
Julio Jones, Hall of
Didn't
Famer.
even think about him.
He is active. Saw him last night. He's got 65 touchdowns. He's on the list.
Who's texting you?
Tony comes up with it.
Who's texting you?
I'm trying to write stuff down.
6-5. We have time. If you miss this, Skraby, the game will be over before the top of the hour.
All
If
right.
not, it will extend past the top of the hour. You're missing the number 2 guy. You're missing the number 3 guy. You're missing the number 9 guy. I guarantee you know these guys. They're just not coming to your mind right now, and I understand that is the challenge of this game. But you need one of them to come to your mind soon. Oh, wait. Hang on. He maybe has one.
Could it? Oh, this is it. This is the game.
This is it. This is for the game to stay alive.
I don't know if he's too new. But
I
he
hope not.
scores a bunch of
I've been trying to
touchdowns.
stay away from the 2 new guys. It's just too dangerous.
Too scary.
Austin Eckler?
Austin Eckler. Are you asking me or
No,
telling
I'm
me?
telling.
68 touchdowns.
Oh,
he got in there.
Oh my goodness.
Austin Eckler's on the list.
Oh my goodness.
That ties it back up at 6-6. Skraby has 2 strikes. Tony has 1. I guess Skraby says keep going. So Tony, it's your turn.
I think I'm gonna take this into the break right here.
Well, I think you should have to guess because this is evens things up
Chris put
in
down
terms
a
of amount of guesses. So that would be giving you an unfair advantage, I think, to extend through the break.
Fair enough.
Austin Eckler was a hell of a guess, Skrabe. Kept you alive.
Did.
Music's playing. Tony's under pressure. He's got to try to come up with a name before the break. Can he do it? Number 2, number 3, and number 9 are still available, Tony. Pretty good players. It's easy for me. I'm looking at the list.
Right?
So
Oh man. What are you looking at, Scrape?
Nothing. I was writing something down.
he's trying to come up with the next guess.
You got 30 seconds.
30 seconds for your guess, Tony. No pressure. The worst you can do is be tied up again with Skraby having the next guess. Or you can take the lead.
How about Lamar Jackson?
Lamar Jackson. Yeah, you ran out of time because he's not on the list.
Yeah, I didn't have enough time.
Didn't have enough time.
I
All
know,
right.
it's kind of unfair. Just saying.
Here we go.
Just saying. All
Coming
right.
back.
Break. Coming back to
Padres
finish.
season may be over, but there are a lot of decisions the Padres are going to have to make during the offseason. No one has you covered on MMA.
All right, we're having some fun, and I'm stepping on Tony's intro. Sorry about that, Tony.
He's deep in thought.
He's deep in thought.
You saved me because we would have just been waiting.
We would have just been waiting.
Still trying to come up with another guy.
We are in the middle of a classic version of Chris's Fantabulous Sports Game Show. If you're just tuning into the program, first things first, Padres do have their new manager. Mike Shildt was hired today. So if you're just climbing in the car heading home, you can be secure in the notion that the Padres managerial search is indeed over. We will hear more from Mike Shildt as the program goes along here. He was meeting with the media, press conference to introduce him earlier today. But more pressing matters are at hand here on Gwynn and Chris because we're in the middle of the Fantabulous Sports Game Show. Tony and Skraby competing head-to-head here in a what has turned into an all-timer. Today's category is active NFL players that have scored more than 60 or more touchdowns. There are 19 correct answers. Now, these guys started about a half an hour ago naming these guys off, and they've done an amazing job. Skraby has come up with 6 correct answers. Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Austin Eckler, Stephon Diggs, and Aaron Jones. Tony has also come up with 6 correct answers. Derrick Henry, Ezekiel Elliott, DeAndre Hopkins, Christian McCaffrey, Julio Jones, and Keenan Allen.
I'm still pissed I can't remember the one that I had come up with. Oh!
What?
It is 2-2. Skraby has 2 strikes. Tony has 2 strikes. And it is Skraby's turn. Now, I just a little sharing with you. During the break, not a word was spoken in this studio.
I just sat with my head down.
Skraby and Tony were both just racing through their minds, trying to think of any of the remaining 7 correct answers so that they could win this game. I don't know if they come up with one or not. You out there probably been thinking along the way, see how many of the other 7 you know. But right now, it's all up to Skraby. He has to come up with one to keep the game alive.
My goodness, it just hit me.
He just put his palms up in the air and seems to
hit me.
I hope it's not the one that I forgot.
If it's the same one that Tony has, you could be in trouble, Tony. But first of all, Skraby's going to need to be correct here.
Yeah, that's true.
He has come up with this before.
Now, if he misses, do I have to get it right, or is it game over? It's the 3rd strike.
It's the 3rd strike. I like to make sure you kind of complete the job, though. Otherwise, I think we go tiebreaker. But anyway, I think Skraby's got one. He looks very confident.
Does he get
there are some confident names.
No, I haven't checked the chat.
Right.
There are some confident names left. Like I said, there's 7 correct answers. They're all active players. All right, Skraby.
It just hit me.
Just hit you. Who hit you?
Mike Evans.
Mike Evans.
That was the one that I had forgot. You butthole.
Mike Evans is 2nd on the list with 89 touchdowns.
Wow, that's a lot of touchdowns.
Yes, he
Now
does
I gotta
have a
go
lot.
with one that I'm like.
So Tony's going to need
sure.
one to tie. Otherwise, Skraby is going to come out of this with a victory. The good news for you, Tony, there are still 6 correct answers.
Please let this guy be active.
I'm not going to. I'm not going to give you any hints, but I can tell you that at least one guy is a perennial All-Pro that you totally know. And the other 5 guys you certainly have heard of.
Let's go.
Tony's standing up. He's ready to give his answer.
Let's go with Jimmy Graham.
Jimmy Graham.
He is
Please
active.
tell me he's still
Wow,
playing.
that was amazing.
He is active. He is 3rd on the list with 86 touchdowns.
Who's texting Tony?
Tony keeps it alive.
Oh,
Well done. Where is Jimmy Graham these days? I don't even know where he is.
Is he back with the Saints?
I think he's with the Saints because
He
he had
is.
some.
I thought I saw him,
2023 is with the Saints. He's played in 7 games this year, just enough to qualify as active. All right, so that takes us down to the final 5.
I forgot about the Mike Evans. That was the one I had a long time ago. And
Another one just came to me.
Uh-oh. Skraby for the lead with 5 correct answers remaining. Guesses?
Alvin Kamara.
That was the All-Pro. Alvin Kamara, 75 touchdowns. He is certainly on the list. He ranks number 9, actually. So the pressure is squarely back on Tony Gwynn Jr. now. There are only 4
You're
correct
leaving
answers
me with
left.
like all guys I'm like not sure.
That's
if they're
all I
even
got
in
on
the
my
league.
list.
There's 4 correct answers left. One guy has 69. One guy has 62. The other two guys have exactly 60.
Oh.
You need one Tony Gwynn Jr. to stay alive. Otherwise, Skraby will be dancing into the Thanksgiving holiday.
That would be amazing.
That would be something. I don't know what kind. I'm a little worried if you win. I may have to dive under the table to get out of the way of your celebration. But, Tony, you have as much time as you like. Please think it through. You were rushed a little on your Lamar Jackson answer. I felt that about that.
Not Ezekiel. What's my man's name for the Chargers running back that I think you named him already?
Austin Eckler?
Austin Eckler.
Yes, he's been named.
Yeah.
So don't guess him.
No, but I was using him because he was drafted after. Is he in the league? Please let Melvin Gordon be in the league.
Melvin Gordon.
Interesting. He is in the league.
He's a running back?
Yeah.
He's with the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
He's had 13 carries this year. And the reason I know that is because he's on the list. I just checked him out. He's got 69 career touchdowns. That is correct.
There's some shenanigans going on over there.
Shenanigans, Skraby?
Shenanigans.
There's shenanigans going on in yours.
It's in my head.
Yeah, mine's too.
Whatever.
I'm out. I have literally can't.
The
I've
game
The
game is tied at 8.
Drop.
There are 3 guys left. I guarantee you guys know all 3 players. They're all active. They're not even as much of a question as Melvin Gordon was. These guys are very active. They start for their teams. 2 of the 3 start. The other guy plays quite a bit. So you do have a chance to come up with these. But one ranks 16th with 62 touchdowns. The others both have 60 exactly. You've got everyone else on the list. For that, you guys should feel very proud. They start without question. The other guy is I don't know that he's not a starter, but he plays quite a bit. Anyway, I don't want to give any more away. Skraby, take your time. We're going to not have a fantabulous or we are having a fantabulous sports game show, but we're not going to have Chris versus the fans today. This game is just taking on a life of its own. There are 3 correct answers left. How many of the 3 do you know out there? Do you think you know? Maybe you're right. Maybe you're not.
I believe
Skraby
I mentioned
has to
this
come
guy
up with
to you
one.
off the air recently.
You're ready to bring forth your guess?
I have 2.
You have 2.
I've got 1.
Can only choose one, Skrabe. Can't have them both.
All right.
It is 4:08 p.m.
I'm gonna let's ride right now.
You ready?
I'm gonna say Tyler Lockett.
Tyler Lockett.
That's a great.
The Seattle Seahawks.
That's a great guess.
Starting wide receiver.
That's a great.
Certainly would make sense. He has 4 touchdowns this year.
Yes,
He's
I know.
playing. He's
I know.
playing.
He's on my fantasy
He's
team.
playing with us.
He had 58 coming into the season.
He's got 62.
He's on the list, Skraby. You came up
Wow.
with it. You made it. You got
I
it.
cannot believe this.
Tyler Lockett is accurate.
You
Wow.
definitely earned this.
You
this
guys
one.
have named
I'm
7.
exhausted.
You guys have named 17 of the 19 correct answers. It is up to Tony Gwynn Jr. now to find one of the remaining 2 here to keep the game going.
I'm not gonna be mad at this point.
Both have 60 touchdowns. They both barely made the list. They both, I shouldn't tell you. That would be too unfair. I'm telling you that they both have 60. One's a starter. One's a plays enough, but doesn't actually start.
I'm gonna go with Amari Cooper.
I thought about
Amari
him.
Cooper
I thought about him.
of the Cleveland Browns to keep the game alive. He's got 2 touchdowns this year.
But he had 70 before.
He only had 55 before. He's got 57 touchdowns. You just missed. Play the music, Skraby. You are the winner of today's Chris's Fantabulous Sports Game Show. A well-earned victory, I must say.
This is the first time I've ever been annoyed that I lost.
I have 2 more names.
You want to, just revel in your victory for a moment.
Okay.
Yeah, let's.
I want to see you celebrate. No, I'm going to give him a chance. You always get a chance to pile on after your victories. Skraby, who are your other 2 guesses?
I'm doing spirit fingers, everybody.
Yeah, this is when you definitely want to be watching on the YouTube stream.
The reason I did not say this person is because they have been injured a lot in their career, but Odell Beckham Jr.
He's short. I know he has 58 or 59. It was the last one that made him close.
He's got 59.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
He just missed.
Okay, good thing I didn't say him. The other name I have is Adam Thielen.
He's short.
He's got 60.
Yeah,
he's got 60.
He's been pretty good this year.
Well, wait a minute. Now, this is a bit of a point of contention. On his Pro Football Reference page, honestly, I'm looking at it now, they list him with 59. On the actual list, they list him with 60. He has 59 receiving and 1 rushing.
There you go.
So he's got 60. Adam Thielen is correct. The other correct answer, the only one you didn't name, Latavius Murray, now of the Buffalo Bills.
Even if I thought of him, I didn't think he was ever going to score 60
touchdowns.
Yeah, those are your guys. You guys were pretty incredible. You got 17 out of 19.
Actually, knowing Odell Beckham Jr. was short,
that helped
kind of no, it hurt me because I started like nope, there's no way he has more than Odell.
Oh,
and so it took me away from a guy like Thielen.
Yeah, Thielen's on.
Yes.
Literally the first time I've ever been annoyed that I lost.
That was a battle. That was a battle.
I wasn't even engaged in the battle, and I'm worn out. How many did you get out there?
Someone said, Tony, throw your binder.
Yeah. I mean, you got to give Skraby a little of his own medicine.
On the stream, Maria says, so happy for your Skraby. Thanks, Maria. Lauren says, yay, Skraby. Brandon, you're guessing. This is why I don't check the chat. It's because you're guessing all of them.
Brandon's guessing all of them?
Yes.
Thank you for being honest, Scrape, not looking at it.
No, I would never do that. Oh, someone guessed Zach Ertz. That's actually a decent guess, but he's not on the list.
Some of the ones that just missed the list, you mentioned Beckham, Marvin Jones. I don't even know how active
I bet you
he
Brandon
is.
Cooks is right around there, too.
Randall Cobb, Amari Cooper, Joe Mixon, Kareem Hunt, James Conner, Brandon Cooks,
James Conner,
Nick Chubb, Dalvin Cook. Those guys that are all over 50.
I thought about
that
Dalvin.
didn't make the list.
Dang.
Zach Ertz had 46 if you were looking for him. All right, there
I'm
we
exhausted.
go.
Can we go home now?
A classic. Yeah, I think we should just call it a day after that. Classic, fantabulous sports game show. Skraby will get into the Thanksgiving holiday as the champion. I am stunned by that. All right, we have one bit of business to take care of in lieu of Chris versus the fans today. We have a pair of tickets to Saturday's Oil Can Showdown between San Diego State and Fresno State.
Yes.
Pair of tickets. Tickets are available for the final game of the season at goaztecs.com. If you want to take in some college football, you can get tickets, or you can win a pair right now. I'm thinking of something off the top of my head here. No, I'm not.
Who won Fantabulous Sports Game Show? Tony, I never get to do this.
I'll give you one easy one. First person with the correct answer to this question: where did Devontae Adams go to college? He's the leader on the all-time touchdown list, active players with 91.
Good one.
Where did he go to college? First person with the correct answer: 833-288-0973. Let's check traffic and take a deep breath.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is brought to you by Belmont Park's Winter Wonder. Just a handful of trouble spots here, guys. Traveling on the eastbound 8 right before the 15.
remarkable. That was fun. Although Tony's disappointed, he knows how Skraby normally feels at the end of a fantabulous sports game show.
It's not a great feeling.
What a matchup that was. Skraby wins it, the 19 active player. I'll tell you one thing. Anybody listening right now knows who the top active touchdown scorers are because we just went through it. Quick note from college football. The University of Washington Huskies have passed Florida State and moved into the number 4 spot in the college football playoff top 25 rankings. Yeah. Well, I mean, that was a great win they had the other night at Oregon State. Tough place to play. I think they deserve to move up. Not that Florida State necessarily deserved to move down, but they did schedule Northern Alabama, a Division IX school. That's what you get. Come on, play somebody. I mean, you have an opening in your schedule and you pick North Alabama. Well, you just dropped the number 5.
Hang with them.
Washington can really now, I think, wrap it up if they beat Washington State. Well, they'd also have to win the Pac-12 championship game. But I just want to see the Pac-12 in its final year of existence, represented in the college football playoff. We'll see if it turns out. Georgia's still number 1. Ohio State, Michigan are 2-3. They play each other this weekend. Washington 4, Florida State is now 5. Oregon is still number 6. So there you have that. College basketball, the Maui tournament continues tonight with a couple of really good games. I think Tennessee plays against Purdue, which is a top 10 matchup. And then the second game is a top 5 matchup. Number 1 Kansas against number 4 Marquette.
Marquette took down UCLA, which was a good game last night.
Yeah, barely. And so those will be 2 really good college basketball games. I bring that up because the Aztecs are not ranked. But
of course they're not.
Yes, I know. It's laughable. But I did want to point this out. Joe Lunardi has done his first. Don't boo Joe Lunardi.
No, I was booing them, not ranking them.
Don't boo Joe Lunardi.
Yeah. Joe's all right. He takes care of the Aztecs. He has them as a 5 seed in his current bracketology. Of course, if you're a 5 seed, that would suggest that you're a top 20 team, which they are. But anyway, the rankers don't have the Aztecs included, but Joe Lunardi has them. And I found this funny. He has them number 5 in the South region, which is exactly what they were last year. Exactly. Number 5 in the South region.
Can we go higher?
Can they go higher? That's funny. They may have to go undefeated the rest of the way just to go up 1 spot on the ladder.
They will definitely have to go undefeated,
right? Because if they
up.
lose a game, they'll fall to like number 12.
They'll be working the rest of the year to get back to the 5 spot.
By the way, sorry, one more thing. The answer to the trivia question, who is the defending South Regional most valuable player? The answer to that is Darion Trammell. He led the Aztecs out of the South into the Final 4. All right, go ahead, Skraby. Yes.
Oh, no, Brandon on the chat, on the stream, says, do you guys believe injuries should play a factor in the rankings, knowing Florida State won't be the same without their quarterback?
I think it probably did, even though they wouldn't admit it.
Unfortunately, I think it should, right? Yeah. Because is that Florida State team, like, let's say they win the rest of their games and you don't take the injury into account.
Right.
Are they the same team going into the playoffs against those caliber teams that they would be without the quarterback?
Yeah.
I would say no.
Yeah.
And we've seen it before where whether it was because they weren't penalized or they ended up winning the rest of their games, they got into that playoff, and I can't remember who team, but they got boat raced.
Yeah. It's a tough break for Florida State. They lose their starting QB. They play Florida this weekend, and that's a non-conference game. They're already in the ACC championship against most likely Louisville. But Louisville. But yeah, yes, you're right, Tony. Louisville. They could go undefeated, and then it would be interesting to see whether they got let into the playoff or not. But we'll see, because there's still a lot to be determined, because Washington's going to play Oregon, it looks like, in the Pac-12 championship. So got Michigan State and Ohio State, or Michigan and Ohio State this weekend. Georgia's still probably got to play Alabama A&M and Savannah State, or whoever Georgia plays. What is their strength of schedule like? 300th?
Cool.
Georgia.
Georgia plays decent teams.
You know, their strength
do not.
Their strength is always going to
It's in the conference.
level out because they play in that conference.
They do not. They play who they have to play in the conference, but do not give them credit for playing a strong out of conference schedule. They don't even try. Georgia.
Chris jumped on that one.
I get so tired of this crap. These teams are like, Georgia's won 50 games in a row. Yeah, but 43 of them are against Division II schools. Please.
Another stream question from Abraham. Real talk. Can anyone explain to me why rankings mean so much in college football?
Well, in college football, that's how they determine who goes into the playoff.
It plays a huge part into how they pick who's, finishing where in the rankings. That if you're,
if you're not in the top 4, you don't get a chance to play for the national championship.
Yeah.
And moving forward, you'll have to be in the top 12 or, whatever the rules will state for the playoff. But the rankings mean everything. And college basketball is where they don't mean anything. But it's still fun to complain about the fact that the Aztecs are getting shafted by not being recognized.
Really, college basketball, they really don't mean
no.
A
You
lick
could be number
at all.
62 as long as you get into the tournament. You get your opportunity.
It goes both ways for the Aztecs in football and basketball. They get into the rankings in football, they lose a game, and then they fall to like 100. And
no, it's the same thing actually. When it's the same exact process for both.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's
basketball.
crazy.
Yeah, like if the Aztecs lose a game after being in whatever top 25, they fall so far out after one loss.
Yeah,
that they spend the rest of the year trying to get back into the top 25.
Yeah, I mean it's.
I'm just used to it by now at this point.
It does roll off the back a little bit. I'm going to give you a quick rundown. I'm still mad about them. Georgia's non-conference football schedule this year. This is mighty Georgia. Here are the 4 teams that they played. UT Martin.
They're a good team.
Ball State.
At least it's not directional.
Alabama Birmingham.
The Dragons.
And this week they play a crappy Georgia Tech team, which is their rival.
Didn't Georgia Tech just beat a good team?
Georgia Tech doesn't beat anybody.
Yeah, didn't they walk it off against the team?
I don't recall.
Miami, right? In that game where
it's a month and a half ago. Oh, the kneel down. Georgia Tech's okay. Of the 4 teams, Georgia Tech is clearly the best, but Georgia's like a 30-point favorite in this game. Why is Georgia playing UT Martin? Like you should be eliminated from championship contention just for doing that.
Is it Kirby Smart?
Yes.
I think Kirby Smart would tell you, well, we got such a tough conference schedule that we have to play these type of schools.
No,
and
you don't.
And you know what? We repay them. We pay them to come on out. So they get a nice chunk of change, and we get some work. And yeah.
Can I just say one thing?
Right there.
Can I say one thing to you, Kirby?
I was trying not to be too heavy.
Can I say one thing to you, Kirby, before you go?
What you got?
I hate you, Kirby.
Why do you hate Kirby Smart?
I don't, but I hate the fact that they play these games. Alabama does the same thing every year, and then they win the national championship too. So
I didn't hear any
it's just the way it goes.
Southwestern North.
You
Alabama.
heard Alabama this year?
No, I said I didn't hear any Southwestern. East.
Yeah, Alabama just played Chattanooga.
Southwestern East Bay College or something like that. I didn't hear any of those.
That's
this time.
pretty much.
What is it? Big State.
Well, what's UT Martin? What is that?
Tennessee Martin.
Oh, sorry, Skraby. You're right.
I think they're the Roadrunners.
There's no way you know that. Skyhawks.
Really?
Yeah, I looked it up.
Oh,
I have a quicker button than you.
So she said.
All right, we got to get to a big 5. Mike Shildt is the new manager of the Padres. If you're just tuning in, that is the big news of the day. We've covered it at length on the program, and we will cover it some more. But before that, we'll find out what else is going on with that check on the big 5 after we take a short timeout.
Ben and Woods on the Fan.
All right, we got Adam Jones coming up in just a few minutes, and he seems to be fired
Still reeling from my fantabulous game show loss. We come into this segment, 4:37 on the clock. Tony Gwynn Jr., Chris Sello, Matt Skraby, the champion, as they like to say.
You and the
pains me.
Aztecs both won a belt here in the last few days.
The Aztecs won a belt?
Yeah, that was the prize for winning the basketball tournament over the weekend. They called it a main event, Continental Tire main event.
Oh.
The Aztecs took home the championship belt.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Champion.
Actually, that is kinda
like
cool.
yourself. Great.
Champs here. Yeah.
Albeit temporary, but you are a champ right now.
We do have in my friends' fantasy football league, we all put in for a like $250 belt, and every year we put money aside from the fees to engrave the belt with our name and stuff and our record.
Is this the champion?
Yeah, the champion,
wins?
and then you get to keep it all year long.
I will say, when I was here in San Diego, our fantasy football league, Mike Adams bought a trophy. And it was the same thing. Every year, whoever won it had his name etched in the trophy, carried it around for the year.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
we need to get something like that for.
If we ever do a countdown of everyday items that I hate,
it's a belt.
Trophies?
A belt would be right on the top of the list.
Gotta have a belt.
You wear belts?
Absolutely.
Really?
Who doesn't wear? I'm wearing a belt right now.
Why?
Because my pants
really
fall down.
They're really going to fall down.
I've lost a little bit of weight.
You have the perfect waistline. Like you can wear a pair of pants. They don't go anywhere.
We got
I have to
Fabio
wear a
over
belt
there.
because my wife won't let me out of the house without a belt.
Okay, so you
but
wear
I
them,
hate
you
it just the same.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily like belts.
I don't know that I've ever met a
Especially when
person
I-
who hates belts.
Well,
Hate
let me get into why I don't like belts occasionally.
Okay.
Now, belts are a necessity for me. I have to have one. But when your boy was a little bit more lovable, the belt can get uncomfortable.
Yes. They cut into your love handles.
It does. You're right.
So I can understand.
It must have been some real skinny guy who invented a belt. Like you said, his pants were falling down, so he needed something to keep him up. But
I'd much rather see a belt.
people that are a little more lovable, shall we say,
Yeah.
can't possibly like belts.
I can feel that. I will say I'd much rather see a belt than a shoelace. That is the young.
You don't like a shoelace?
No.
For a belt?
Yes, as a belt.
Oh.
The young kids will use a shoelace when they don't have a belt.
No.
Not a good look.
I gotta
Didn't
admit,
know that.
I was.
You were a shoelace guy?
At parties and stuff, I'd be like, "Hey, check it out! I got a shoelace for a belt."
No
And everybody was like,
no wonder you never had a girlfriend.
He said, "Hey, look, I got a shoelace."
That
for a
was
belt."
like, here you go, Chris. Here, I'll show you.
Alley-oop.
It's like 20 years ago.
Lob it right in.
20 years
Lob
ago.
it right in. Can't miss
20.
those.
Don't tell anybody else that story, Skraby.
Hey, guys,
I got a
Skraby.
shoelace as a belt.
Can't miss those.
Different times, okay?
It was different times. Let's check traffic before we get to the big five.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Air Max, San Diego's highest rated heating and air conditioning company. Come on, you guys. One of the busiest travel days of the year. You got to be careful out there. We've got this crash blocking the 3 right lanes, eastbound side of the 8, right before the 15. So good luck if you're heading through Mission Valley. Also, westbound 8, just before the 125, there is a collision involving several vehicles. That one's got middle lanes blocked. You're going to find on Balboa on-ramp to southbound 15, a collision. Southbound side of the 805 near Balboa, there is a stalled vehicle in the center divide. Traveling on the northbound 15 right before Rancho Bernardo Road, a collision involving a couple vehicles there in the center divide. We still have El Norte Parkway off-ramp blocked with a semi that lost its load. And now a crash on westbound 78 at Nordall Road off-ramp. Looking for the best in HVAC? Choose Air Max, San Diego's highest rated heating and air company with free diagnostics on all repairs and estimates. See why over 1,100 happy customers have given Air Max 5-star Yelp reviews. See Air Max today at airmax.com. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
It's that time of the show when we check on the latest in sports. Only the most important topics and questions are brought to light.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
These news stories will astound and amaze you. The one, the only.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
The Big Five starts now on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, let's get right into it because we have very little time here in the Big Five.
Number 5.
And MLB trade rumors are going to get stronger and stronger. And these 4 pitchers have been rumored to be on the move. And Tony, you're going to be up first, but these 4 have had rumors about them. Tyler Glasnow, Corbin Burns, Dylan Cease, and Shane Bieber. All 4 have found themselves involved in those trade rumblings, but which one is most likely to be dealt? The Athletics' Ken Rosenthal think it's Glasnow, who is owed $25 million in his final season before free agency. Tony, out of those 4, who do you like the most? Glasnow, Burns, Cease, and Bieber.
Oh, I like Corbin Burns, but I don't think he's going to be available after they non-tendered Brandon Woodruff. I think
they can't afford to lose both
He's
guys.
probably there. So that leaves Glasnow, Cease, and Bieber. I think Bieber's the most consistent out of all 4. He may not be a Cy Young every year, but he is still a really good pitcher. If you're making me decide it's between Cease and Bieber for me, I'm going to go Bieber.
Bieber. Chris?
I was going to go Cease, but he was too inconsistent after a great season. He was mediocre, if that, even that last year. Glasnow far too injury prone. My goodness, this guy last year made 21 starts. I was like, the greatest he's ever done by a wide margin. So I'd have to go with Bieber as well, just because of durability and success.
Where the Padres are, I assume that's why you're asking, right? It's for the Padres.
I mean, I don't think they're going to be signing Glasnow.
No, I don't think so either.
$25 million.
I don't think so either.
Or
but
trading for him or something.
In general, if I was a general manager,
Bieber.
In general, if I was a general manager, I would take Bieber.
But Glasnow had an ERA under 4 last year, which means he's probably worth $25 million to somebody like the Cardinals who spend $10 million on a 6.5 ERA.
$22 million actually for those 2 guys.
We're still talking about Lance Lynn.
Lance Lynn, and then Gibson got 12 today.
They
from
signed
them.
Kyle Gibson today. He's an ERA of he led the league in hits allowed. So that seems like he'd be worth $12 million for doing that.
Side note: AJ Cassavell is everywhere. He's on TV again in a different outfit. So
this is a different outfit.
So he's on MLB Network, but we're gonna have him back on the show here at 5:40. AJ Cassavell, man of the people today. All right.
Well, you know what?
Number 4.
After his long hibernation, I hope he's doing a lot of work. We haven't seen him in forever.
That's true. That's true. Tom Brady is going to be an analyst for Fox next season, and he is starting to show some of his spicier side. Stephen A. Smith asked him for his thoughts on the state of today's game, and I will say I was pretty surprised by his response. Here is Tom Brady's response to Stephen A. Smith.
I think there's a lot of mediocrity in today's NFL. Yeah. I don't see the excellence that I saw in the past.
Why not?
Why not? I think the coaching isn't as good as it was. I don't think the development of young players is as good as it was. The rules have allowed a lot of bad habits to get into the actual performance of the game. Mm-hmm. So I just think the product, in my opinion, is less than what it's been. I think I look at a lot of players like Ray Lewis and Rodney Harrison and Ronnie Lott and guys that impacted the game in a certain way. And every hit they would have made would have been a penalty. You hear coaches complaining about their own player being tackled and not necessarily, why don't they talk to their player about how to protect himself? We used to work on the fundamentals of those things all the time. Now they're trying to be regulated all the time. Offensive players need to protect themselves. It's not up to a defensive player to protect the offensive player. A defensive player needs to protect himself. I didn't throw the ball to certain areas because I was afraid players were going to get knocked out. Mm-hmm. That's the reality. Wow. I didn't throw it to the middle when I played Ray Lewis because you knock him out of the game, and I couldn't afford to lose a good player.
So that was Tom Brady with his spicier takes I've ever heard Tom Brady have, honestly. Chris, what do you think of that harsh analysis?
I think it's pretty rich of Tom Brady to say the players are protected too much, since he basically invented the idea.
Something called the Tuck rule.
That's what not the Tuck rule, just all the penalties that were called every time somebody blew a kiss in Tom Brady's direction as the quarterback. He's kind of trying to get the focus on how he saved his wide receivers. Notice he didn't say anything about protecting those old quarterbacks, Tom. So, I mean, it's not like Tom Brady's exactly a Fran Tarkenton or a Roger Staubach or a Stabler or Bradshaw back there taking the hits that those guys took. I think it's a little rich.
All right. What do you think of that analysis, Tony?
It's not the first time we've heard Tom say that. We heard him say that at the end of his career while he was still playing, that he felt like, the defense was being penalized, and that was why he was playing. Look, both things can be true. You could have been protected by these rules, but also know deep down, because of the era that he initially came up in, as he mentioned, he played against Ray Lewis for a long time.
Yeah, he did.
And for him to admit, and listen, the Patriots offense, minus the years they had Randy Moss, was largely wide receivers going across the middle and, having to deal with that. And so, yeah, I think both things can be true. Yes, he was definitely protected. The NFL made a ton of rules to protect him. I also will say that the New England Patriots also did like the best job ever of getting offensive linemen that didn't let anybody touch Brady very often. So
they had some good lines.
Yeah, I like the spiciness,
right.
if you will, from Tom.
If that's what he gives us on a week-to-week basis, I kind of
I don't know if I need it every week, but to know he has it in him, I like that. Yeah.
Number 3.
The Pittsburgh Steelers offense has been historically bad this season, and they have decided to do something they haven't done since 1941, and that's fire a coach in season. The team announced offensive coordinator Matt Canada will be relieved of his duties because the offense was so bad. The Steelers are the first team since 1933, when the NFL began tracking rushing and receiving statistics, to be outgained in each of their first 8 games and still have a winning record. All the way back to 1933. Tony, going back to the 1941 not firing coach thing, is it worse to fire a coach in season than the off season in your eyes?
I think it depends on the situation. Steelers are squarely in a playoff run right now, and they've done that despite their offense being outscored.
6-4?
Yeah, 6-4. Despite being outscored, I think every game are now outscored.
Outgained. No, that's what it was since 1933.
Outgained every week.
Yeah.
So if Mike Tomlin who is in charge of this, is seeing the same thing everybody else saying, it sounded like this wasn't a decision that he came to very easily. I think in this case, removing a coach is the right decision. Now, I wouldn't say that's the case all the time. Sometimes it could do nothing but make things worse by firing a coach in season, depending on the sport, depending on the situation. But I think in this case, it was warranted, and it probably needed to happen a couple weeks ago.
Yes. Chris, is it worse to fire a coach in season than the off season?
I'm not really sure about your question, but I am sure about one thing. If the Steelers can fire Matt Canada,
I know where you're going.
Why in the world is Nathaniel Hackett still showing up?
I thought you were going to go after Brandon Staley.
I thought he was too.
No, I'm comparing offensive coordinators.
Yeah,
You're saying the Steelers are the worst offense in football. I don't think they're worse than the Jets. I don't think they're worse. I mean, there's some bad offenses in football. Mike Tomlin, this guy must be really kind of lagging on some of his responsibilities, because I don't think Mike Tomlin would look to fire somebody unless there was really something behind the scenes that we didn't know. This guy's been the offensive coordinator since 2021. It's not like he's brand new. Mike Tomlin's been working with him for a while. All of a sudden, he just cuts him right in the middle of the season.
He's been under a ton of pressure because people were calling for this before the season started, and he has stuck by. This is his guy, and I think he's talked about it in his press conference that this is not a decision that he came to very easily, but ultimately it's his responsibility to get this team in the right direction.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Indeed.
Number 2.
During a Big Ten conference meeting last week, some admitted something many have said was coming. A sitting Big Ten AD vocalized publicly that within 5 years, and some say sooner, the Power 5 conference schools will operate from under a new governance structure that features an athlete revenue sharing model, a shift often described by many within the industry as, quote unquote, the great split. Chris, do you think a revenue sharing model is a good thing for college sports?
Not really, but I can't stop it. I don't think the NIL is the greatest thing of all time. I think it's
flawed.
Led to a lot of unforeseen circumstances. I mean, I like the idea of kids getting some money, but it's turned into it's completely gone away from the original plan. So I imagine if you open up this Pandora's box, it's going to be crazy and wild and out of control. I don't know how much longer college football is going to stay on my resume of things I only watch now if there's not much else to do. I hardly find college football to be entertaining anymore. It's a totally different planet than I grew up watching.
What is not entertaining about it anymore, though?
The
Is
games
this the
are
fact
fun.
that you know that they're getting paid now?
No, it's the uneven playing field.
Okay.
That I can't deal with. Now, if they're gonna eventually break off, as you said, the great split, and just give me the top 40 teams and stop with the charade that Georgia and San Diego State are playing the same sport.
Got you.
We're just not.
That makes sense.
So that's my thing with college football. Just stop with the charade. Go do your split. Everybody go make your millions of dollars and let the rest of us play what was once college football.
Fair enough.
Number 1.
I didn't get to answer that, but
yeah, you're
we
right.
didn't.
My bad. Do you think a revenue? No, you're actually pretty good to speak on this. Do you think a revenue sharing model is a good thing for college sports?
I don't know. I'm open to anything that helps kind of tighten up some of the loose ends that, because I assume the great split is the split between schools and students, right?
No, it will be the split from the NCAA.
That, that's never a bad thing. I don't think. The NCAA. What does the NCAA do at this point?
Collect checks.
That's just, they're not governing anything.
No,
they're still investigating Jim Harbaugh. That has all of a sudden come to a conclusion. So I don't know. Chris and I have talked about it. I don't know if the great split is moving away from NCAA, but football should definitely be the great split from the rest of the sports. They should just do their own thing. I think it would make things a lot less complicated for all the other schools and sports. I don't know how that looks.
Bring the Pac-12 back with all the schools that used to be in it and let them play volleyball and golf and tennis and every other sport.
Football can be a thing of its
own thing.
Number 1.
Travis Kelce is taking some heat from some Chiefs fans
and from you
and from not really from me.
He caught a touchdown. He saved you. If he didn't catch that touchdown,
this
you'd be
is
mad.
your type of story right here. Go ahead.
Well, I guess in 2011, Travis Kelce tweeted out something that became very famous, and it all has to do with the Mexican restaurant Chipotle.
I didn't hear this.
Travis Kelce
I thought this was
tweeted
going someplace completely different. All right.
Travis Kelce tweeted in 2011 that he needed some Chipotle.
Yes.
So he's CHIPOLTE. So he tweeted that, not realizing that he misspelled the chain. Now everybody talks about it, I guess, in the Kansas City area. The restaurant changed the sign to reflect this outside of the restaurant. So now instead of Chipotle, it says Chipotle.
Okay.
That's not what I want to ask you guys about.
Tony, that would be too plain.
What pray
Now,
tell do you have in mind?
Do you think all this new fame is actually affecting his play? I'm going to ask you guys until you agree with me. You don't think so?
So you want me to answer now? Or you want me to answer another side?
Well, Chris has got to go to a Aztecs women basketball game. So let's go with Chris.
Chris,
first.
you go first.
Yes, it's affecting him there. I agreed with
Oh,
you.
he just wants me to stop asking the question.
I do.
He just wants me to stop asking the question.
I'm just tired
That's
of Travis.
a smart
I'm a little
man.
tired of Travis Kelce, but
He is everywhere
I
right
don't
now.
think it's affecting his play. It's not his fault, but yeah, too much Travis Kelce in the world right now.
Tony?
Goat Kelsey. That's all I got to say.
Goat?
All
or go?
about
Goat Kelsey.
what do they call him? Tay Swift, Swifty, Swift.
What do they
Swift?
call him?
I don't know.
Do you think the other players on the fields call him like Mr. Swift or something?
They
got to be making fun of him.
I'm sure he gets ragged on during the course of the day.
After that fumble last night, apparently Chiefs fans are done with him.
I'm
so.
sure.
Yeah,
they are.
that's. I would give
Get
up
rid
on
of the-
him.
get
I
rid
would
of the
give up
greatest
on.
tight end.
Yeah, I
All
would
right.
give up on him after that.
Mike Shildt news next.
Sunday Night Football features 2 AFC contenders when Lamar Jackson leads the
headed down to the Mesa. The Aztecs, the women's Aztecs team on the hardwood tonight. So Skraby and myself here with you for the next hour. Listen up. It's time now for the name of today's biggest fan. Today's biggest fan is Miguel Ortega of Chula Vista. Give us a call at 833-288-0973 within the next 10 minutes to register for our grand prize of 20 tickets to a 2024 Padres game in the Odyssey Suite. To watch a Padres game, I would hope. If you're going to a Padres game, you are definitely going to watch one. You get a chance to do that with your friends and all of the fans host. If you want a chance to have your name called to register for our grand prize, visit 973thefansd.com/biggest fan today. The biggest fan contest is presented by the San Diego Seals. Tickets are on sale now at sealslax.com. You can also score a Turkey Day touchdown when you shop your whole feast in one trip. And that's at Smart Final.
Yes.
Use promo code SF. Thanks.
Not SFT Hanks.
SF. Thanks for free delivery on your next order. Padres, go ahead.
Real quick, do you think Chris is in his car right now being like, Skraby, like even when I'm not here,
taking shots?
Yeah.
Padres did name their manager today, to the delight of Matthew Skraby. Mike Shildt will take the helm for the Padres. It sounds like they are still putting together the rest of the staff, how that's going to unfold. But he is your man, and we got a chance to hear from him earlier today at the press conference, and it was kind of these questions about the Cardinals that you're going to hear, I found to be kind of weird.
Really?
Yeah, only because, I mean, you don't generally ask, are you going to bring the Cardinal way to another organization? I mean, it's the Cardinal way because
it's the Cardinal way.
Cardinal way. So nonetheless, he was asked the time that he spent with the Cardinals. Could it be of help now?
Yeah. I mean, listen, you grow from your experiences. We had a lot of success. I was in an organization for 18 years and blessed to have been able to do it, and was raised by a lot of really capable, quality, Hall of Fame caliber baseball people that served me well when I was there. And, listen, AJ alluded to the 17 games, so I think it mostly ended pretty well from a field standpoint. And yeah, we did eliminate you, but we owed you one from 2020 when you guys knocked us out here. So yeah, there's a lot of reflection of what that looks like and growth. And, clearly I've done that, and, I'm a better version of myself and excited about the opportunity now.
Passionate man about the game of baseball. And he's right. He was raised by some quality baseball people. I think I'm excited for Padre fans to get to know Mike Shildt a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't know anything really. I mean, I knew about him, but I had never really heard him speak, or I've never really met him. So hearing the press conference today, and I think a lot of people in our chat share the same opinion, that this was something that made me excited, them excited, Padres fans excited for the most part.
It made sense.
It does make sense.
It makes a lot of sense. You can hear in his voice, man, he's excited. He didn't know. I having talked to him a lot over the last 2 years, he really truly didn't know if he was going to get an opportunity. But you know what the best part about him was? He kept showing up to work with that same passion. Wasn't interested in necessarily, if it came, it came.
Yeah.
But he wasn't like holding out hope for another job. Of course, he wanted an opportunity. He'll get that here in San Diego. I think the other question that many people had, or many people will have moving forward, is how will he manage this superstar-laden roster?
Well, first of all, you need to make sure that they're themselves. I've, again, a great fortune of coming from a place where I managed some really good players and future Hall of Famers, and I got some really nice texts today from a couple of those guys. And then you grew up with it. I grew up in a AA clubhouse with the Orioles in Charlotte, North Carolina, and shine Cal Ripken Jr. shoes. So I got a chance to watch greatness at an early age. And so, the biggest thing is just about relationships, getting to know guys, and ultimately working with them. I mean, these are high-level, high-performing, exceptional talents that we have in this club, and I'm excited to work with them, help create a structure where they can thrive, and create accountability where the team can thrive as well. So, let them be themselves in a team setting, get buy-in from them, which I don't think is going to be an issue at all. These guys are tremendous guys and super hungry, as I alluded to, and let them go, let them enjoy it.
You can hear it in the words, the choice of words he used when he's talking about AJ, when he's talking about the players. He talked about AJ and him being a partnership, right? He talked about getting buy-in from guys, them wanting to be themselves. He's not making this I'm the boss, you're underneath me, or the other way around as it pertains to AJ. It's a collaborative thing. And the one thing I can tell you about Mike Shildt is he's invested in relationships. And that's a big part of managing a clubhouse is getting to know your guys, not just on the surface, but if the opportunity presents itself to get, on a more deeper plane there. And that's, the one thing that you got to be excited about in terms of Mike Shildt.
Now,
forward.
what I kind of thought, but I don't believe, is like when he's saying these things, my brain immediately goes, well, was Bomel not letting them be themselves? And I would assume that nothing that was said in the press conference today was to shade Bomel at all.
No, not at all. The players were definitely allowed to be themselves. I mean,
yeah, I think we saw it.
They were definitely allowed to be themselves. Wasn't necessary, and I don't necessarily. It wasn't necessarily Bo's thing to feel one way or another. I think Mike Shildt is going to feel the same way, but it's just different. There's a different tack that Mike seems to take that I think Bo did, and
all right.
that could be the biggest change for this ball club. So, new manager, as we said, Mike Shildt named today. The wait, you have to wait no longer at this point.
You know what? I also saw some things on X about how it's like going to a restaurant, looking at the menu, deciding that you're like, oh, you know what, the breadsticks sound really good, and then you look at the rest of the menu, take 20 minutes, and then when it comes time to order, it's like, you know what, I will go with the breadsticks. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that they exhausted a search of other guys, and instead of just going with the breadsticks on the menu, they went and looked at the rest of the menu. They realized, you know what, I just want breadsticks, so I'm going to go with that.
Sometimes you get a menu that you like, few items that you could go with.
Yeah,
you're kind of in between.
Yeah, you think about each one of them, and then you come back to one of them,
right?
And that's fine. I don't have any problem with that. I actually applaud the Padres for interviewing other people.
Really? Your timeline would seem to suggest the opposite.
Because I know that they made the
so now that you've gone through it.
Yes. Now that he's the manager and he has big league experience, and now that I know kind of what happened with the process, I'm not cool with it because I don't want to go back on my word, but I am feeling better about it because they did look like AJ said, as AJ or who Bryce Miller. AJ probably kicked his tires.
The public doesn't come down on flip floppers as hard as they used to. They've kind of eased the noise on that a little bit. So I think you're all right.
Someone said we want the cheese bread, Skraby, not just breadsticks. I don't know what the cheese bread is, but
cheese bread is filling.
Yeah, the cheese bread is like one of those
heavy gassy too.
So, yes, absolutely.
Maybe we should try. Maybe we should decide against the cheesy bread.
That's why I'm going with breadsticks.
Yeah. I brought this up like at the very beginning of the show, and I'm just now getting to it.
Yes.
And we should be careful about how we talk about Shohei and the teams that are courting him.
Yes.
Because according to Jeff Passan, if rumor comes out that he's met with you,
like him and Ohtani meeting with the team,
Ohtani, let's say Ohtani and the Giants meet.
Okay.
And it gets out that they met.
Okay.
Ohtani will be holding said team accountable for that. I can't wait for this free agency to pop off because
how is that going to be possible?
I don't know. We haven't seen it done in today's media world, right? Where if Shohei pulls this off, he might be a mob boss.
He could be, because how do you get Shohei Ohtani into a meeting with high-level Major League Baseball people and not have anybody notice?
I want to know how he's traveling. Like, I mean, is Because nowadays people will check flight plans.
Yeah.
Is he going to drive everywhere? How is this going to work?
No, I have to think that he's flying.
I have to think he's flying too, but
on private jet.
Is that harder to track? Private jets?
Yeah, you can block the private jet. I know that these Spanoses.
Oh, that's right. They
the private jet. People were trying to figure out where the jet was.
I find this interesting that Shohei might be the first. First of all, I think it speaks to how private he actually is.
Yeah. But what is that? Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. What are you going to say?
But what is that? How does that hurt him at all? It just is rumors. And he knows the truth.
I don't know that it hurts him at all. But I think it may be, if let's say you got 4 teams, they're all pretty close in terms of money.
Yeah.
That may be a reflection, because what we do know, what he's insinuating is that most teams are the people who are leaking
that is true.
This information.
That is true.
And so I think for Shohei, I think it speaks to a couple of things. He's pretty private, but if there are 4 teams, and I'm sure there's going to be more than 4 teams, there are 7 teams that are all close in terms of dollar figure. How you handle your business in terms of being able to protect a player or protect him specifically, because he's going to be like no other free agent that goes anywhere this year.
Yeah.
It is the amount of media attention he's going to have wherever he goes is going to be different. This may be one of those things that puts you over the top. If you can actually keep it a secret, because we all know it's going to be almost
really
impossible.
Yeah.
Especially if it's LA, New York,
San Francisco,
like any of those. It's really any place, but specifically those places. If you can find a way to keep that hush hush,
I get why you want to be private, but at the same time,
you're right. It doesn't. I don't know that it hurts him,
but does it also wouldn't that be negotiating tactics too? Like, hey, I'm also talking to them over there, and so the reports come out. They offer me $500 million.
I don't think Shohei needs to lie to anybody.
Okay.
I think it's pretty obvious. He's the number one piece out there. So I just found that interesting. I don't know that I've ever heard that.
I haven't either.
And by the caveat is, we didn't hear this from Shohei. We heard this from Jeff Passan. So
true.
Jeff Passan's pretty on point, though, I must say. I don't know that he's ever missed anything.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
He's pretty good at his job. All right, let's get to break. What you got?
We got Sam Levitt with Mike Shildt coming up next. Sammy Lev got a sit down with Mike Shildt directly after the press conference.
Yeah, that's this is why Sammy Lev gets paid the big bucks. More Gwynn and Chris on the way.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by California.
at Petco Park with the 23rd manager in Padres history, Mike Shildt. Mike, congratulations. Great to have you here. Great to hear what you and A.J. Preller had to say during the press conference. You know, I love your story from working in the clubhouse at AA, Cal Ripken Jr. in the clubhouse, getting all that experience in your childhood to coaching in high school, in college, managing in the minor leagues, now all the different roles you've had in the major leagues. I think it's a story a lot of people can relate to, coming up through a system and getting to the major leagues. How does that experience shape you now as a manager?
Yeah, you know what? It's you look back and you go, man, it's been a long, wonderful journey that started when I was 8 years old, running down foul balls at Crockett Park in Charlotte, North Carolina, to now managing the San Diego Padres with a lot of different experiences in between. And very blessed to have been able to accrue all those experiences. And again, a lot of people have poured into me, and I was smart enough to listen to them, and again, get a lot of experience. And like DJ alluded to, I've ridden a lot of buses, so all of it pays off to now have the opportunity to understand, to be able to be a competent achieving manager at the big league level.
I've also been on a lot of buses in the Texas League like you. So I know those 10, 11-hour rides going Corpus Christi to Springfield. Don't remind me. A lot of fun, though, on those bus trips. You've done a lot of winning, whether it was in the minor leagues, certainly with the Cardinals, some tremendous seasons there. In your opinion, what are the traits of a winning team?
Well, it starts with everybody being together, pulling on the same rope. And, that's been something that I watched growing up with the Orioles. Back then it was the Oriole way. I was there for 8 years in that AA clubhouse. They were the winningest organization. They're going to World Series. So I got a chance to see it, model it at a very young age without knowing what the heck I was really paying attention to. And then got around some really good people. And, it's always been, I've studied the game, and you just look up and you don't know what's the outcome of the game is going to end up being.
Right.
So you want to have your I's dotted and T's crossed. And, ultimately one of the things I say to the group, it's pure competition, and we're going to give nothing away, and we're going to take everything that we see and get and be ready for those explosive moments. So it's just about playing fundamental baseball, and it's about showing up every day and competing. It is a competition. They're keeping score. Clearly baseball is a long, grinding process, and, the team that shows up every day and gets the most out of their ability and plays the game the right way usually has a pretty good standing at the end.
You talked in the press conference about allowing players to be themselves, and this is a team that has some star power on it, more than just a little bit of star power, a lot of personality on it as well. When you talk about Fernando Tatis Jr. and Juan Soto and Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, the list goes on and on. As far as allowing players to be themselves, how do you view the group overall, this personality, at least right now?
I love the group. I love the personality.
Yeah.
I think it's great. Our fans enjoy it. We've got tremendous fans. It's a show. And the only thing I'm going to ask them to do, which I don't have anything they've already done and will continue to do, is just do it in a team setting.
Right.
It's have substance with the flash, have the swagger, bring it every day, and play the game right and play the game fundamentally sound. But man, enjoy it. There's nothing really that I enjoyed in the last 2 years more than watching some of our guys play with just such enjoyment and passion for the game. And I know our fans appreciate that, and just do it in a manner that allows us to shake hands into the game.
Speaking of this team as a whole, it's a group this past season that it didn't appear to click it all together until the very end, until September. How will you try to ensure that this group clicks on all cylinders, gets things firing on all cylinders, really from March and April on?
Yeah, it's going to be a process.
Yeah.
It starts with conversation with players. We, alluded to a question earlier. We're going to learn from this past year, not going to live in it necessarily, but we are going to reflect on it, gather information from our players, and then just making sure that we're all doing it together. There's intentionality to everything we're doing, and I don't want to say that there wasn't intentionality. That's not the point at all. But really just making sure there's a cohesiveness. I will say this about last year's club that I felt like was something that needed to be, we need to manage moving forward, and that's the expectations. When you throw out there winning a World Series, and I've been fortunate enough to come from a place that's done that and modeled it and seen it and experienced it. It's different than when you're proclaiming to go do it and expecting to go do it than hunting it.
Sure.
And so I thought the group really just took a while for them to deal with those expectations that are very lofty, and that's normal. That's human.
Yeah.
And I thought it took the group a little bit of time to kind of settle into the groove of playing. So some of the talk internally will be about just playing the game right, playing the game in the moment, stay present, all the cliche things that just work, and manage your expectations. And again, if we can do it together in a setting that not everybody feels like they've got to carry the burden, because the thing I love about our group is, I got a lot of respect for them. This is a group that cared so much that they probably tried too hard in some cases.
We're joined by Mike Shildt right now on 97.3 The Fan from Petco Park. Mike Shildt introduced as the new Padres manager. Talking to people about you as this process went along and as you were announced as manager earlier this morning, a lot of people said to me, Mike Shildt is about fundamentals. He's big on fundamentals. How did you view this team in that aspect last season?
Actually, I thought we played pretty good defense.
Sure.
Our infield defense is really good. I mean, of course, Kimmy wins the utility gold glove. Toddy did a phenomenal job making the transition to right field, ultimately winning the platinum gold glove, and deservingly so. Grish is a tremendous defensive center fielder. I thought Crony did a great job making a transition, and playing first. And I thought Bogey played a very steady, sure shortstop. So I thought defensively we were pretty buttoned up. I thought we got better as the season went on the base running. It became a strength of the club. And, I thought, it's not like this is a group that's so far off. It's just, continue to make sure that those attention to details are there and there's a feedback loop and a continual improvement mentality. And that really probably best describes my mentality about how teams work. You talk about getting started in April, March, and clearly you want to get off to a good start.
Right.
But really it's about taking advantage and being a better version. I say this a lot, better as the game goes, better as the series goes, and better as the season goes. And if we're continually working to improve in all our areas individually, collectively, then, it's a pretty dynamic group.
I want to touch on one of the players you mentioned, Fernando Tatis Jr., and you're right. He did such a wonderful job transitioning to right field. He's obviously so important to this team moving forward for years and years to come. How do you view Fernando entering this season, coming off the missed year, coming off the surgeries from the past offseason, both as a player on the field and also inside the clubhouse?
I've been fortunate to get to know him. I helped him, vary a little bit in his rehab process.
Right.
I don't like to live in the past, I like to learn from it, but I will say this about Toddy that I think has been potentially overlooked. Let's give this guy a lot of credit for this last season.
Yeah, I'm with you.
This guy was on 17 months out of the game, 3 surgeries, a lot of off the field stuff hovering over his head, and this guy posted, answered the bell. I was privileged to see his habits be better. Took good care of himself. He played every game.
Yeah.
He transitioned to a new position to be the most elite defensive player in the National League, and his habits improved. And this guy really, and he took on a lot of the pressure and the heat that came from the previous, 17 months, and handled it far better than most 23-year-olds would have handled it. And I got a lot of admiration. I've told him that for how he's handled it. Now it's about what are the next steps. We talk about proximal paso, as the Spanish version of it. But and the next steps, this guy's now he's healthy. He has a full off season to recover, and I know he's going to have a very, very, very good year for us.
Yeah, it feels like he is primed for an MVP caliber season. Again,
Yes.
We're joined by Mike Shildt as we introduce Mike Shildt here on 97.3 The Fan, the brand new Padres manager. Final question for you. You had the opportunity to manage in St. Louis. Great fans there, as we know. The fans here in San Diego, they're pretty darn good too. The sellouts night after night, what they do here at Petco Park, the energy they continue to bring night after night. What is your message today to Padres fans?
It is an amazing atmosphere. It's a beautiful ballpark. It's a fun atmosphere. It's a party. Clearly last year was a disappointment relative to not making the playoffs. But this is an entertaining team. It'll remain an entertaining team with an eye towards being and rewarding their enthusiasm with the playoffs. It's a wild stadium.
Right.
They get after it. They party. They have a good time. Our players enjoy it. And, the biggest thing is just continue to ride the journey with us on our journey to this World Series championship. But like I said, we talk about World Series, but let's don't get so far ahead. Let's take care of our division. Let's start playing better and competing in our division first.
You talk about it being a party Friday night, City Connect uniforms. I'm looking forward to seeing you in those City Connect colors.
Those are my colors.
Yeah, we've seen it, but I want to see it top step.
Yeah,
it's
you're
going to be a
see
lot of fun.
Yeah, it's definitely my jam.
All right, Mike, appreciate the time. Congratulations again. Really look forward to seeing you at spring training and throughout the course of the 2024 season. Happy Thanksgiving, and thanks so much.
Thanks. Happy and blessed Thanksgiving.
All right, Mike Shildt.
Well done, Sam Levitt. Well done.
Pipes of an angel.
You get a little bit of kind of a peek into Mike's personality, though. What he said, that's my jam right there, whatever.
Is that what he said?
Yeah, at the end. When's the last time we've talked about winning a division? I mean, I know after last year, the Padres 22 Padres didn't win the division. They go to the NLCS. And maybe I'm just have a short memory, but I don't remember division talk, right? I think we were talking
the last
like
couple of years.
I think it was like just like skipping to the World Series.
Yeah.
And what did Mike say there? Let's take care of business first. Let's take care of the division first.
Division is tough.
It is tough, but I don't know that it's been talked about like that in a while. And maybe it's because it's been so tough over the past.
You need baby
10
steps.
years, 9
You need
years.
baby steps. Like you said, it's not going to just be them going to the World Series. They need to take steps up.
Well, just think when you think about the perennials, the teams that are there all the time, they're winning their division first.
Yeah.
And then the other stuff, comes along.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like you're going wild card 8 straight years and then you're winning the title. Like, it doesn't normally work that way.
No, you win the division, you get put in a better spot in the playoffs. It's just how it goes.
Hopefully that is all in the Padres' future. All right, let's get to break. When we come back, if you missed AJ Casabal out of hibernation, you're in luck because we'll play it for you when we come back. More Gwynn and Chris.
This is Zach Gelb with Odyssey Sports Minute, sponsored
Man, Denny's used to, man. Shout out to Denny's, man.
Shout out to Denny's, man.
It filled the stomach on many a nights.
When I went to Palomar, we used to go to the Denny's that was nearby and just fill up before class, and I would like fall asleep because I'd be club sandwiched out. And then there was another place in San Marcos called Tom's Number 22. Love Tom's Number 22. Went there all the time. And then there's something called George Burgers. I ate a lot of fast food at Palomar.
You don't have to. I'm not judging you because I used to eat a ton of fast food.
Now I eat a burger and I feel like I gained 300 pounds.
It definitely sits different now. Definitely sits different.
Yes.
AJ Cassavell joined us earlier. If you missed it, I will have it for you here shortly. Real quick, Lakers in action tonight. You know what today is?
Cup night.
It's Cup night, baby.
I'm getting it.
So you get to see the beautiful yellow floor that the Lakers have.
They're 1-0 on it.
They're 1-0 on it, but they're 3-0 in cup play. They're actually 2-0. Wait, they're 3-0 in cup play, but I've only played one home game. So today is their fourth game at home. I can't remember who they're playing right now. It's going to come to me, hopefully, soon.
I'm going to my app right now.
That's what I was banking on.
Utah.
They're playing Utah at home. So wish my Lakers luck. All right. Here's some traffic, and you'll get AJ Cassavell after.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Apologies in advance if I don't mention somebody's freeway, guys, but I got no time for a 5-minute report. That's what it would take to cover all these crashes. Let's start with the coastline. Southbound 5 accident on the Oceanside Boulevard off-ramp. Also southbound 5 before Garnett. There is a collision involving a couple vehicles over to the right shoulder. Speed still slow through Mission Valley, all due to this earlier crash. Eastbound 8 before the 15. It's no longer blocking lanes. Got a crash blocking middle lanes. Westbound 8 before the 125. Collision in the back of that West 8 near Severn. It's over to the right shoulder. Also, traffic alert in effect in the North County. Northbound 15, El Norte Parkway off-ramp blocked. A semi dropped its load, so watch out for a little jam up there. I'm Kelly Danick with Gwynn and Chris, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
So AJ Cassavell joins us. AJ, before we get started in this interview, are you mad at us, man? We feel like we haven't talked in quite some time.
I took a break. I took a week, about a week and a half, and went camping in Yosemite and Sequoia. And that's where I've been. I had to check out for a little bit, but I'm back, baby.
It's only a week and a half. It felt a lot longer, man, I must say. You hit the ground running today. I mean, Mike Shildt gets the job. You were one of the first I saw report on it. What's your takeaway after going to the press conference and the Padres settling on their manager?
My takeaway is kind of what you guys just said, that maybe the biggest surprise is how unsurprising this all kind of unfolded. I mean, I would have put Shildt as probably the favorite when the job became available last month. And I mean, he got the job for a lot of the reasons I think we all thought he might. He knows the organization pretty well. He has a track record of winning in St. Louis. He knows he was there in 2022 and saw what went right. He was there in 2023 and saw what went wrong. And so he's worked with AJ Preller. Like, a lot of the reasons we kind of all anticipated that he would be a favorite for this job seem to be the reasons that he ended up getting it.
What happened with him in St. Louis, AJ, or how much do we know of what happened with him? I mean, the guy wins 90 games. He goes to the playoffs 3 years in a row. I believe the 90-win team got into the playoffs by winning 17 straight games in September, putting on an amazing run down the stretch. Then they lose a one-game playoff to the Dodgers, and he's out the door. I know he probably isn't touching on that, but just around baseball circles, what do we think happened there? Do we know?
Yeah, I think some of what's been reported in the past is essentially come down to he was, I think, maybe intense in a way that rubbed some people in that organization the wrong way. And I think he has kind of acknowledged something of that measure in interviews he's done in the past, and said he'd like the chance to learn from that and grow from that. And I mean, I think his intensity is kind of readily apparent in who he is when he manages games. And I think there's also a guy that is clearly a baseball crazed guy and seems willing to learn and willing to adapt. I mean, you could say he's old school, and he certainly is old school in kind of some of the things he says and the way he goes about it, but he also is willing to take new information and to use it to win games, which he did in St. Louis. So I would say that I think that I don't know exactly why it ended in St. Louis, what went wrong. toward the end, obviously on the field, not a whole lot did go wrong because they made the playoffs 3 straight years under him.
Right.
But if he has said kind of that he's kind of willing to learn from some of those things going forward, which he has, I think that's a positive thing.
Yeah, it's always a positive thing. I think as the city gets to know Mike, they'll realize this is a man that is not above those type of things, being able to change
a little bit.
Say again.
Looking in the mirror a little bit.
He's not. He's a very humble individual. AJ, would you say that one of the more important things that I think when you look at the group that was interviewed, and you kind of hit on it, was that Mike has already worked with AJ. He kind of knows what and how this process is going to go, or he has an idea at least, right?
Yeah, I think I don't know if that's so important in the hiring of Shildt in the first place and AJ's decision to make Shildt the manager. I think it's maybe more important going forward now that he's in place. Things can kind of take off a little more quickly than they would with another guy, because Shildt understands kind of AJ's relentlessness and his desire to win. They clearly have a really good rapport, which I think was probably not the case with AJ Preller and some of his previous managers. So I mean, we'll see kind of what that means going forward. But I think the fact that Shildt understands the organization, that Shildt spent a lot of time at different levels of the organization, not just with the big league club. I mean, he spent some time going to minor leagues, going to instructional camps and whatnot. That when they call up some of these guys that they're inevitably going to have to call up in the next year or so, Mike Shildt will know them. That these are only positive things, and the fact that he's kind of had an impact and worked with a lot of those guys and has drawn rave reviews from big leaguers. I imagine that the same holds true for his work with some of the minor leaguers, and some of the background that he has is definitely a positive thing.
AJ Cassavell is our guest here on Gwynn and Chris down at Petco Park today. You could have spotted him. I'm sure they'll probably play a tape of you reporting live from Petco Park. You might be able to watch yourself later on MLB Network. You looked good, AJ, by the way. You were square, centered in the frame. And your report, I didn't hear it.
Your break served you well, it sounds
but it
like.
looked good. Yeah, you looked solid.
That's not my doing. They make me look good. They put me in the right space and tell me where to look.
You didn't have to take makeup or anything. I think it was just a natural look. You did a nice job. Very nice. AJ Preller, do you get the sense in the interim of Bob Melvin leaving and the hiring now of Mike Shildt that AJ Preller senses that he may have to amend a few things in the way he runs this ball club? Do you get that sense? I know that, he has said that, everybody's got to learn from what happened last year. We talked about Mike Shildt learning from his first experience with the Cardinals and trying to make some changes. It seems to me AJ is kind of in position to hopefully do something similar, AJ.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to view it, because I think that's kind of what I've heard from him lately. But that was also probably the case after Jay Stingler when they hired Bob Melvin. It's gonna come down to actions. It's gonna come down to when the going gets tough in the season. How well do these two work together? Obviously, that's not entirely on AJ. It's a relationship between the GM and the manager that kind of needs to be developed over time. So we'll see what happens. But I think there was maybe a desire to change after things went flat in the 2021 season, that you saw some subtle stuff change in 2022, and then it kind of fell apart in 2023. So I think AJ Preller, say what you will about some things of the way he runs the team, he seems to be kind of willing to adapt and figure out what. I mean, he hired Bob Melvin, and now here he is hiring Mike Shildt. He seems to be willing to kind of put that foot forward to try and understand when things have gone wrong, what needs to happen for them to go right. We'll see what happens when adversity hits, because it inevitably does over the course of the baseball season.
AJ Cassavell joins us here, and AJ, obviously, there's way too many AJs. We had a discussion the other day how many AJs there are surrounding San Diego. AJ, there's still a lot of work to be done. Got the manager now. Now, I assume the focus now turns to filling the spots on the roster What are you looking forward to in that regard?
Pitching. It's got to be pitching. There's just so many holes right now. It's not just the rotation anymore with some of the moves they made recently. The bullpen, I think, needs some solidifying. So the way I see it, there are guys available in the market. I think there are probably guys you can find and maybe go the Michael Wacha, Seth Lugo route in terms of buy low, get them working with Ruben Niebla, who I think we all feel is a really, really good pitching coach and can have some success stories that way. Get them pitching in San Diego and get them going in the right direction. But I still just feel like they might have to ultimately make a trade or two to get some of the pitching that they're lacking right now. Because this rotation, it has the two guys at the front, Joe Musgrove and Yu Darvish, and you hope that they're healthy for next season. But after that, there's just two marks for you to say, oh, we'll fill it all in free agency. So I assume that they will, going forward, that'll be the top priority. And then in the bullpen, they need some high caliber back end arms as well.
I know AJ Preller was asked about Juan Soto today. What is your sense? We don't know what's going to happen, but what is your sense of what you think may happen, Soto? Does it make sense to try to fill a bunch of those spots you talked about by moving him, or does it make more sense to keep him because he is part of the solution, not part of the problem?
My sense is that it's going to take a while for if anything develops on that front for it to develop. So I think that you go into the off season maybe looking to make trades elsewhere to make sure you're in a decent spot, because if Juan Soto negotiates something long term or going on behind closed doors, then I suspect that's not something we would learn about until probably well into spring training. And if they're not, or if Juan Soto is set on hitting the open market after the 2024 season, I just think that's something you wait to see that it's happened. And if this trade comes to fruition, if the Padres are open to dealing Juan Soto, and if someone meets what should be a high asking price, I just don't see it happening anytime soon. And I also don't necessarily see the Padres viewing that as their avenue to get those pieces they need. It would have to. If you're trading Juan Soto, you're setting yourself back for the 2024 season, right? Because he is an unbelievable hitter. He's a guy that you stick in the middle of your order as one of the best hitters on track to be one of the best hitters of all time. I think you need to plan with that as how you're going to go about things going forward, and not use that as this crutch to kind of hold you up and say, oh, well, we can always get pitching that way. And then if the trade comes to fruition, maybe later in the off season or into spring training, then that's something you can jump at and something you can certainly help your current team with. But if I'm roster planning right now at this point in the offseason, I'm not planning to trade Juan Soto. You need to kind of be, I think, blown away by an offer.
AJ, any conversation about the staff? Obviously, Matt Williams left with Bo Mel, as did Ryan Christensen. Ryan Flaherty has been in that kind of associate manager spot. Any conversation of what the staff is going to look like aside from Ruben Niebla?
Yeah, Shildt has essentially said he'd be open to working with everyone on that staff because he's had good experiences with them. Flaherty, I think, is the big one because he was obviously a candidate for the manager spot, and he interviewed. And I asked AJ Preller directly afterward about Ryan Flaherty's status going forward, and he says that's something we're gonna get into. But they obviously think very highly of Ryan, and that they would like to have him back if they can. So that's still TBD. I think the manager search has been dominating things so much that now it's time to kind of take that step and look at who's on the staff. But I think, like you said, Ruben Niebla, he's under contract. He's back. Ben Fritz is also under contract. The expectation is he'll be back. I don't know the rest of kind of where things will fall, but I know that a lot of that comes from the manager's say. And now that the Padres have a manager in place, they can kind of move forward with what that plan will be.
AJ Cassaville, great stuff, great insight. As always, I wanted to just ask you one last thing about, and I know it's so early, I mean, in the passing of Peter Seidler, do you still get the sense that the reports that have said this team is going to probably reduce payroll, that is the path they're going to follow this offseason?
Well, it certainly seems like that. I just don't know. I don't know the specifics of it being a certain dollar amount. I think there may be some more fiscally prudent decisions to be made, but I also think that you can compete with a can compete with the payroll that's less than what it was last season, because last season was the top 3 payroll in baseball. If you're top 10, you can still be competitive that way if you sign the right guys, make the right decisions, have the right people developing and coaching up those guys. So I guess looking forward, I would kind of, based on some of the moves they made recently in terms of letting some of the option guys walk and non-tendering some of the guys that they did, and the trade last week with Barlow, like certain moves like that kind of make me think that, yeah, the payroll will be less than it was. But I also have not heard, I know there've been some reports of it getting under a certain number of specific numbers. I don't know that to be the case. I just think it's probably going to change to a point where I think they feel they can still be competitive while reducing it to some extent.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Again, this is why you're reluctant to talk about what the roster is going to look like, can look like, because we don't actually know.
Right.
If there's a hard line number they're trying to get to, certainly things point to the fact of them bringing the salary down below what it was last year. But as AJ mentioned, that was top 3 in baseball last year. So,
yeah.
AJ, speaking of the devil, you're on TV right
There
now.
you are.
How about that?
How are you doing
This
this?
is amazing. You're doing both. You're literally talking at the same time. It's unbelievable.
I'm a multitasker. That's how I do it. No, this is the live. This is the live show.
No doubt about it.
You
AJ,
are both Penn and Teller.
Yes,
at the same time.
Indeed.
A magician.
AJ, good luck in fantasy basketball the rest of the way, and we need to do this.
Need it, we both need it.
Let's do it again soon, man. Good to talk to you.
Thanks, AJ.
Of course. Thanks, guys.
AJ Cassavell, MLB.com. Thanks for listening in. God bless. Good night. We'll be back.
I'll be back tomorrow.
My man, Matthew Skraby will be back tomorrow.
Yes.
Holding it down.
That's right.
Everybody have a lovely, lovely Thanksgiving, and be safe.
Talk
Take
to you
care.
tomorrow.
Good night.